What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 10 PR Chapter 161, Meteorite, the Dreamer's Stunt Shocked the Three Worlds. Askin, Pepe, you two like to speak ill of people behind their backs, don't you? If I imagine, I sew your mouths shut with needle and thread, I don't know what it would be like. Outside the video, Grammy looked at Yun Dangfeng and looked at Yaskin and Pepe. Yaskin waved his hand and said as if to shirk the blame. Is this what is called bad words? I don't think so. Pepe doesn't like you. Hearing this, Peep's mouth twitched sharply. Good guy, throw all the blame on me, right? Oh my, what are you talking about, Yaskin? You seem to be the first to mention that Grammy is a monster. How can you rely on me? That's almost it. Grammy shook his head. He didn't care about it, he just wanted to scare them both. Of course Yaskin was not afraid, but Pepe was as scared as a dead pig. Seirei, it seems that Grammy's imagination is limited, Tōshirō said with a smile on his face. Although Grammy has a wild imagination, if he unleashes his imagination too much, his own Ryotsu will not be able to support it. This may be a breakthrough point in dealing with this weird ability. Well, imagine that Vice Captain Kusuka's body is as brittle as a pancake. This power was unknowingly released when Grammy fought with Captain Zaraki. As long as Captain Zaraki can challenge his imagination and you have a high chance of winning. Omeda looked at Zaraki Kenpachi and said. You don't need to remind me. If he fights me absent-mindedly, I won't find it interesting, Zaraki Kenpachi sneered. Although he is very resistant to this kind of magic-like ability, and feels that chopping and fighting without real swords and guns is more vivid, but Grammy prides himself on being the strongest Quincy. Even with this weird ability, it is worth a try. War. This is not easy. Vice Captain Kusaka has left, and Grammy can devote himself to fighting Captain Zaraki. Kurotsuchi Mayuri looked at Kenpachi and smiled slightly. No matter what the result is, Zaraki, if you defeat Grammy, Qian 673 must keep his brain. If used as an experimental product for research, it will definitely break through his current bottleneck. Humph, Nirvana, I can't guarantee that I won't cut his head in half when I fight him again. Zaraki Kenpachi raised the corner of his mouth slightly. Who can think about so many things in a battle? If it weren't for the fact that he saw himself being saved by Kurotsuchi Mayuri in the previous video, he wouldn't want to answer Kurotsuchi Mayuri's question. My requirements are not high, just don't be too cruel. Kurotsuchi Mayuri rarely has such clingy requests. According to his technological level, he only needs to keep one leaf of his brain. I'll try my best. Zaraki Kenpachi was a little impatient. Return to the video screen. Aegean. Seeing the sudden change, Yachinryu immediately jumped down and left Zaraki Kenpachi's side. Katetsu's Ryotsu is still there, she should be alive. Go down and let her help you treat your arm. Kenpachi was very worried about Yachiru's condition. Okay. Yachiru glanced at Kenpachi with a childlike smile, then jumped off the stone pillar and left. You actually discovered me. After Grammy's injuries were repaired, he stood up and put his hands in his pockets again. What did you find? Zaraki Kenpachi was a little confused. My imagination about that girl has been interrupted. Of course, it can't continue. What do you want to do with me? Do you want to fight? Zaraki Kenpachi looked at Grammy's detached expression and could not smell the breath of battle at all. Fight? Grammy raised his head, a little confused. What do you think you are? The strongest Quincy, right? Since you are the strongest, you must also want to defeat the strongest one. Zaraki Kenpachi was like a ferocious beast, with a smile on his face. Come on, let's start fighting. Ignoring the enemy in front of you and focusing on others is not a fight. Kenpachi swung his sword and struck again. How could Grammy let this beast get close? Countless stones began to rise from behind him, and the huge stage began to deform. In an instant, Zaraki Kenpachi was trapped in the stone formation. As if they were alive, these stones gathered together towards the Zaraki Kenpachi in the middle. Although he was controlling the stone attack, Grammy was confused. Just now. What did that guy mean? Since he is the strongest, he must also want to defeat the strongest. I have never thought about that kind of thing. From the beginning, no one challenged him, because everyone else knows that I am the strongest. Grammy's sunken head suddenly lifted up, as excited as a hunter who has found his prey, so I don't need to kill anyone to prove this, so I haven't thought about defeating anyone, but why am I so strong and want to completely defeat this guy? Suya Palace. Really, don't you even know the concept of fighting a strong person? Neutra was very disdainful and kept saying that he was the strongest. He, a fighting maniac, can't stand what Grammy says and does. With such power, no one really wants to challenge him. Fighting with a guy who uses imagination as a weapon is asking for trouble. Zamari shook his head, but said that he was the strongest among the Quincy. He doesn't agree with this. If you are distracted from fighting, you will weaken the power of imagination. How can you have the shame to say that you are the strongest? This guy has never seen a truly strong person, so he is so arrogant and conceited. If he saw Master Aizen, I believe he would never say such things. Zamari complained contemptuously. Don't worry about whether the strongest one is true. On the surface, Gremmy is the strongest Quincy, and Zaraki Kenpachi is the strongest person besides Yamamoto Genryuzai. The two strongest people. The collision is quite interesting. Ruby smiled evilly and looked forward to the final result. Who would win? Seirei. Really, you dare to claim to be the strongest Quincy without even fighting against a strong person? What an arrogant guy. Zaraki Kenpachi felt that he had been fooled. The so-called strongest is just his own opinion. The desire to fight in an instant has been reduced a lot. Hey, Captain Zaraki, let's not say whether the other party is the strongest. Your imagination is not the strongest, but it is very close to the strongest. You are the strongest Kenpachi, and the name of Kenpachi lives up to the guard or not, but it's up to you. Kyoraku Shunsui held the bamboo hat, looked at Zaraki Kenpachi, and supported him. Captain will definitely win. Madarame Mikaku clenched his fist and gave a loud shout. Yes, Captain can definitely defeat that dreamer. Yumachika also agreed. The video continues to play. Gremmy gradually went crazy, and his smile became more and more pervert. Ha ha ha. The sound echoed throughout the real-world city, and at the same time, countless gun barrels and cannons appeared behind him, and countless muzzles were pointed at Zaraki Kenpachi in front. Shoo-choo-choo-choo. The flames flickered on the muzzle of the gun, and countless bullets were shot out quickly. Not just bullets, but many large missiles. The attack of gunfire and bullets directly detonated above the stage, and the smoke spread like a mushroom cloud. However, before the smoke dissipated, a blade of light came out, and the missile was split in half in an instant. Bang! Even so, the missile still exploded. Ha ha ha. Laughter like a devil's whisper came from the smoke, and then Zaraki Kenpachi's sturdy figure emerged. You finally used your hands. That expression is really good. Although Kenpachi's skin was injured by the explosion, he was very excited at the moment. Looking at Gremmy's equally excited expression, he also said, Seirei, let me go. This guy is in the same group as Mole Chengshuang, right? How come he uses thermal weapons? Omeda said in surprise. Mole Chengshuang can also integrate the spirit into things, thus giving them an ecology. When I took stock of him before, in his battle with Zaraki Kenpachi, he also used the Spirit Sun to control a large number of firearms to attack. Unexpectedly, Zaraki Kenpachi changed his opponent and encountered such an outrageous attack again. The fate is really amazing. This fighting method looks familiar, but if you want to kill me with a gun, is it too whimsical? Zaraki Kenpachi grinned with disdain in his smile. I'm really curious about Gremmy's IQ. Kira smiled faintly. Imagination should be confusing, but what the hell is this gun attack? Obviously you can fight in other more powerful ways. Choose this kind of weapon that is only used in this world. Isn't this very clever? Ha ha ha. I have noticed it a long time ago. If the imagination were replaced by another person, Captain Zaraki would probably be at a disadvantage. Shubing was also worried about Gremmy's IQ. But this is good. Zaraki Kenpachi has a greater chance of winning. Return to the video screen. Looking at Gremmy, who was feeling the joy of fighting, Zaraki Kenpachi held Nozarashi tightly, and a flash of surprise flashed across his face. Finally, you guys have learned to enjoy fighting. Great look. Gremmy suddenly fell silent. I don't know exactly what kind of expression I have right now. I don't know if it's a great expression, but it's incredible. Why am I like this? Why do I feel so happy? After a short period of silence, Gremmy exploded. Feeling the joy of fighting at this moment seemed to be the happiest thing he had ever felt since he was born. He was completely focused on the enemy in front of him. Before this, he had never dared to imagine what this concept was. Zaraki Kenpachi slashed at him with his sword. Gremmy used his imagination to create a steel barrier surrounding himself. However, the steel barrier was easily cut through by Kenpachi's Zanpakuto, and Nozarashi stabbed Gremmy on the left shoulder. Nothing new. I've already told you that I can cut even steel. Zaraki Kenpachi is almost crazy. This level of barrier cannot stop him at all. However, what awaits Kenpachi is not Gremmy's panic, but his contempt for the doctor. Suddenly, Zaraki Kenpachi found that the Zanpakuto that had penetrated Gremmy's body could not be pulled out. At the same time, a huge arm appeared above his head and continued to fall. When the palm fell, a palm-shaped pit was created on the stage surface, and Zaraki Kenpachi was pressed into it. Nothing new. I told you, no matter how you kill me, it's useless. Gremmy smiled softly, but the next moment, the entire stone arm split from the middle, and a slash powerful enough to break steel came suddenly. Gremmy raised his head after hearing the noise, but the slash had already fallen. A 1-meter-long wound instantly opened on his chest, and blood spurted out, causing him to panic immediately. Too slow. Zaraki Kenpachi roared and rushed over again. If you don't have time to discover the cut area, if you discover it late, the treatment will be delayed. If you treat it late, the next defense and counterattack will be delayed. In that moment of sluggishness, the next blow has already come. Kai. Another wound opened in his chest. Gremmy was completely stunned. Why can't I stop his sword? Does this guy really intend to defeat me? Will I really lose to him? Invisible Empire. Nani, why can't I avoid this kind of slash? Gremmy's whole body felt bad, and the corners of his mouth twitched from time to time. Just now he said that he was the strongest Quincy. Although the other members of the Knights didn't say anything, they were definitely unhappy. Now that I have been cut so badly, it is really embarrassing. It's too slow, Gremmy. How can you beat that monster Zaraki Kenpachi in this state? From now on, don't say that you are the strongest among the Quincy. It's not shameful enough. Sure enough, after Gremmy was at a disadvantage, Gerard was heard complaining. Shout, I just got hit a few times, it doesn't mean I've lost. Gremmy was very unhappy, he just didn't expect such a thing to happen. His tricks didn't stop there. Well, let's wait and see. Sereti, so handsome, Aiken. Gremmy has been fooled. Yachinliu was ecstatic. Seeing that the other person's imagination was gradually being put to no use, she was so excited that she almost jumped up. It's a small thing. Zaraki Kenpachi touched Yachiru's head and said, as long as it uses a speed that Gremmy can't capture, there's nothing he can do. That's what I say, but this guy can heal his injuries. If he can't be killed directly, he will definitely have the advantage in a protracted battle. Sajin Kashiwamura frowned and said. That's good. It's always boring to be at the upper hand. Kenpachi's smile widened. Kashiwamura Sajin, return to the video screen. What are you doing? Why are you suddenly unable to resist me? The smile on Zaraki Kenpachi's face disappeared. If it stopped here, he would be really boring. Did you imagine that you would fail? After hearing these words, Gremmy's pupils shrank suddenly, and he seemed to understand something like an enlightenment. I almost made my own death a reality. If he really had the idea of being killed, he might really be killed by himself. It's also considered suicide. By this time, Gremmy's injuries had disappeared. Thank you. And thanked Kenpachi. I don't know what you mean. Kenpachi didn't know what Gremmy was doing. What you just said made me completely eliminate the image of my own death from my mind. I will never die. In other words, there is no way to kill Gremmy. Don't regret it. Gremmy laughed sinisterly. I have never regretted it, Kenpachi said with firm eyes. There is no image of my own death in my mind. Does it mean that this guy can't be killed? The picture outside the video immediately frowned. How can Zaraki Kenpachi fight? Gremmy does not have his own death in his mind. It is just a subjective thought in his mind. However, his death is an objective thing in the eyes of others, so this kind of thing is not true. Kurotsuchi Mayuri looked at Tōshirō and explained. Tōshirō didn't understand what Kurotsuchi Mayuri meant. Didn't he just change direction and become invincible? Pidgeot Baro's mortal body is even more invincible. Captain Hitsugaya, don't you understand what Captain Nirvana means? Jashiro took over. Gremmy's power is not enough to control two people. Vice Captain Kusuka is the witness, so he cannot die in such an imaginary event. He has no chance at all. Responsible for the power, it is just a matter of subjective consciousness to prevent yourself from dying due to your own imagination. Tōshirō suddenly realized that if this happens, Zaraki Kenpachi only needs to continue to become stronger, and then it will be easy to defeat Gremmy. The video continues. Gremmy directly uses an ability similar to Shadow Clone to create a clone. He was very proud. As a return gift, I will let you see my strongest power. Zaraki Kenpachi couldn't tolerate him and rushed over quickly. A clone? He can actually use stealth maneuvers. Gremmy was calm and composed, with his hands in his pockets, not taking Kenpachi seriously at all, and said, it's not a clone, but another me. I can use my imagination to create life. Kenpachi raised his sword and slashed, but Gremmy quickly dodged it. You can't kill anyone, and the power of imagination will simply multiply. Boom! There was a sudden loud noise in the sky. Immediately afterwards, a huge meteorite fell slowly. Chapter 162, Eisen Marvels, the strongest body that even the universe cannot trap. What is that? Why does it look like a meteorite? Tōshirō's pupils outside the video were as wide as copper bells. This shocking sound, as well as the shadow appearing on the ground of the real-world city, all symbolize that the stone above is a meteorite. Tōshirō was surprised because the distance seemed far away and the meteorites in the picture were as big as rocks. Captain, that's a meteorite. Rangaku frowned tightly. Being able to create a meteorite of this scale is probably not a joke, right? Isn't this an attack method created by Gremmy using his imagination? Omeda twitched the corner of her mouth. If it was really a reality, then not to mention Zaraki Kenpachi who was fighting, the entire real-world city would be harmed. Although the scope of the meteorite is not as large as the entire Spirit King Palace, it is absolutely no problem to cover 1/3 of the area. Look at Gremmy's arrogant energy, this is his most powerful killing move. Sui Feng frowned, feeling the pressure invisibly. If this thing is smashed down, I'm afraid not many people will survive. I don't know what Captain Zaraki will do. Kashiwamura Sajin looked at Zaraki Kenpachi, very worried and expectant. Should he wait to be hit, or should he use his strength to carry it down? Show. What the hell is this? Gremmy's imagination is indeed very strong, but is it too exaggerated to create such a meteorite that attacks indiscriminately? Kurosaki Ichigo couldn't help but gulped, feeling incredible. Isn't it really an illusion? After possessing the clone, Gremmy's power seems to have improved a lot. Before, it was a bit difficult for him to control Captain Zaraki and Vice Captain Kusanoga at the same time. Now he has actually created such a world-destroying thing. Renji felt his head go dark, and even if it was the meteorite in the video, he felt like it was about to fall. Since it is the strongest attack, Zaraki Kenpachi only needs to guard against this move, and the rest will be easy to fight. Kurosaki Ichigo believes Zaraki Kenpachi can do it. Invisible Empire. Grammy, you have finally regained your face. If you continue in the same state as before, we will really lose our face by you. Pepe shook his head and glanced at Shalemi with some evil eyes. You'd better think about how you can avoid it when I use this move in the future, otherwise you will die under the meteorite. Grammy smiled, but there was no trace of harmony on his face. Bercy sighed with emotion. You are trying to attack us indiscriminately. They were teammates in name only, and Grammy didn't take them seriously. Don't worry, anyway, by that stage, you will have been instantly killed by Yamamoto Genryuzai. Grammy's smile turned contemptuous. Belzy. Return to the video screen. What is that? Zaraki Kenpachi looked up and became a little panicked when he saw the meteorite. It's a meteorite. Grammy smiled sinisterly. The entire Seirei will disappear from now on. The meteorite broke through the clouds and fell suddenly. It was about to hit Seirei's soul membrane. Only I can survive in the ruins, Grammy said easily. After Zaraki Kenpachi was briefly stunned, his face suddenly turned ecstatic. A meteorite? I've never chopped it before, I'm so happy, shy. He smiled crazily like a beast, as if he was joyful as he had never experienced before. At the same time, everyone else also saw the meteorite. The Quincy and the Shinigami were all shocked. Hey, this isn't funny at all. Busby looked at the approaching giant meteorite and complained with great dissatisfaction. What is this guy Grammy doing? Do you want to kill us all? What is that thing? What happened? Aburai Renji's pupils trembled. Yasukin looked up, cold sweat dripping from his eyes, and there was a hint of worry in his eyes. It's really bad. He made such a big thing. Is that kid crazy? That's why I said, that kind of monster should be locked up in prison for the rest of his life, inside. No problem. Seirei has a soul shielding film. Intruders outside Seirei will be destroyed by the soul shielding film. The Shinigami began to deceive themselves. However, when the meteorite fell, they were dumbfounded. The soul shielding film is like a hen laying an egg. After breaking open, the meteorite continues to fall from the hole. No, it can't be done. It can't be eliminated. It's too massive and cannot be eliminated. Falling down. What to do? Everyone will die. The Shinigami were like grasshoppers in a hot pot, at a loss. Some people are like headless flies, running away like crazy without any purpose. Protect your majesty quickly. Hazard looked at the falling meteorites very cautiously on the palace, and quickly ordered the holy soldiers. He somewhat does not believe in Yuhabach's strength. If this kind of meteorite can hurt Yuhabach, then he is not qualified to be the ancestor of the Quincy. Invisible Empire, Palace of Ice. Hazard, are you too cautious? Although the damage caused by Grammy's meteorite must be very strong, His Majesty will not be affected, Masco said. Grammy also took over the words. Although I said that no one can survive my meteorite except me, which is true, but I have never included your majesty in it from the beginning to the end. It's a good thing to be cautious. Hazard lowered his gaze slightly. Return to the video screen. If you stop imagining it, if you kill me immediately, it will be useless. The meteorite has become an established fact and will not disappear again. Grammy is very proud now. The meteorite is bound to fall. Even if Jesus comes, he can't stop it. He knew Zaraki Kenpachi wanted to kill him, but it was too late. If that giant thing falls here, everyone will be smashed to pieces, and I am the only one who can survive, just as I imagined. He looked at Zaraki Kenpachi, and his gloomy smile seemed to tell the latter that the feeling of being helpless was uncomfortable. Unexpectedly, Zaraki Kenpachi didn't behave at all, but kept smiling. At a loss what to do? Yeah, you have no more moves available. As soon as he finished speaking, Zaraki Kenpachi jumped up and faced him. Under the huge meteorite, he was as small as an ant. But this one ant is about to shake a meteorite 1,000,000 times larger than it. Swallow it. Nozarashi. Nani, Captain Zaraki wants to cut the meteorite in half with one knife? Shu Bing outside the video looked at Zaraki Kenpachi in surprise. Others may not do such ridiculous things, but Zaraki Kenpachi definitely will. Isn't it just a meteorite? What's the big deal? Just cut it in half. Zaraki Kenpachi smiled evilly, and his current thoughts were exactly the same as those of himself in the video. There is nothing that can be cut continuously with a knife, be it wood, steel, or huge meteorites. Even though Captain Zaraki is very powerful, he is too small. It would be difficult to split the meteorite in half. Kira was filled with worry. Not to mention whether the meteorite will be chopped off, Zaraki Kenpachi may be really shaken to the point of losing the ability to fight with just this one blow. I believe in the captain. Madarame Akaku's eyes lit up. The captain already uses Shikai, there is nothing he can't do. Well, Akaku is right, this blow will definitely destroy the meteorite, Yumachika agreed. Invisible Empire. Ha ha ha, it's such an idiot's dream to cut off my meteorite. Zaraki Kenpachi seems to have a very rich imagination. It's hard to tell whether Grammy's words were insulting Zaraki Kenpachi or praising him. But in his opinion, this kind of thing is not true. Use all Shikai. Maybe it can really happen. Gerald didn't think that Gremmy's meteorite was invincible. He had seen the power of Zaraki Kenpachi. Even though he became a giant of light and was extremely hard, he was still split in half with a knife. You must know that it is his perfect holy body form, and meteorites cannot compare. Return to the video screen. A flash of sword light struck upwards, and the next moment, a violent explosion spread throughout the jingling court. This knife disintegrated the huge meteorite. After the meteorite shattered and exploded, countless rubbles like volcanic eruptions were formed and smashed towards Seireii. Although the meteorite was not completely resolved, the falling debris also minimized the consequences of the meteorite. Hueco Mundo, the living world, Seireii, and the invisible empire. After everyone saw this blow, their hearts trembled. My dear mother, what kind of power does this Zaraki Kenpachi have? He can smash the meteorite to pieces with just one knife? Yami felt bad all over. It seems that the result of the previous battle with Zaraki Kenpachi and Byakuya Kuchiki was obvious. Fortunately, the battle process was not played. Yami is a little lucky now, she doesn't even have to think about it, she must have been killed instantly. Zaraki Kenpachi is the most powerful person I have ever seen. Even Yamamoto Genryuzai did not show this dimension of power, Zamari said in surprise. That's because Yamamoto Genryuzai didn't use obvious power moves. Zaraki Kenpachi is definitely not as strong as the strongest Shinigami. Apache interrupted Zamari directly. Sun also agreed. Aizen Sama ranks first, Yuhabach ranks second, Yamamoto Genryuzai ranks third, and Zaraki Kenpachi ranks fourth. Seireii. Captain Zaraki really succeeded. Omeda was very excited. All Shinigami present may have thought of this situation, but the probability of it happening is very low. It turns out that Zaraki Kenpachi has it all, HMPH, it's a piece of cake. A few more meteorites and Lousy will chop them down. A smile appeared on Zaraki Kenpachi's ferocious face. Invisible Empire. Really or not, this guy smashed my meteorite? Gremmy was speechless. The face you just found is now about to be lost again. It's so terrifying, you deserve to be Zaraki Kenpachi. Gerald nodded in praise, then glanced at Gremmy. Do you have any other moves? After a brief moment of panic, Gremmy showed his usual smile. Imagination doesn't stop there. Return to the video screen. Gremmy looked at the gravel that looked like a meteor shower. He froze in place and couldn't believe it. What is that? Can it be smashed to pieces with just one knife? Damn monster. He roared at Kenpachi, obviously anxious. At this moment, Zaraki Kenpachi was holding the big sword behind Nozarashi Shikai, suspended in the air, looking down at Gremmy with contempt. Don't yell. It's very simple. This sword is invincible. Nothing as I can't kill him. I see, it's really simple. Even if you increase the number of people, the result cannot be changed. Kenpachi seems to have discovered Gremmy's secret. But Gremmy denied. It will change, since there is nothing you can't kill. If so, then I'll use something invisible to kill you. With that said, many more clones were created. They moved in unison, waving their arms, and a piece of dark starry sky fragments emerged from their hands. Use the universe to trap you to death. Soon, a space with twinkling stars like an abyss was created by Gremmy. Zaraki Kenpachi was unable to dodge and was directly dragged in. In just an instant, Zaraki Kenpachi's body seemed to be torn apart and suffered endless torture. Space will forcefully evaporate the body fluids in your eyeballs and oral mucosa. Once the wound is exposed to space, the blood will start to boil. Gremmy looked at Zaraki Kenpachi's painful look and continued to explain. If you try to breathe, your lungs will be destroyed, the body tissues will begin to collapse, and you will slowly welcome death. However, the premise is that you can still retain consciousness before death. The throne of Suya Palace. Can you imagine the universe? Aizen dragged his chin with his fingers, a very surprised expression on his face. Such an interesting ability is actually possessed by someone else. What a shame. In the universe, it is impossible to react the same as normal physiology. Zaraki Kenpachi, how will you solve it? Seireii. The universe has been imagined, this is too outrageous. Toshiro's mouth twitched. I now take back what I said before, that Grammy's imagination is not 660%. Although to a certain extent, Grammy's imagination space is indeed not that rich, but now that the universe has come out, it can completely break the previous doubts. What a shame. How could there be such an ability in the world? Madarame Makaku frowned. Even though he was the chief officer of Team 11, he no longer had the confidence to continue to believe that Zaraki Kenpachi would be safe and sound in the universe. Interesting, it's so interesting, the universe, I have never been to the universe. Zaraki Kenpachi looked at his miserable condition in the video and became even more happy. Thank you so much, Gremmy, for letting me have such an experience. But the universe is the universe, and you are not God. This kind of thing cannot trap me. Sure enough, Gremmy in the video was suddenly hacked by Nozarashi. What's going on? He was a little confused. Why could Zaraki Kenpachi still wield a sword in this situation? Have you forgotten the feeling of your body becoming hard? Kenpachi smiled coldly. Gremmy, who did not have a body of steel, was cut in half in an instant. But suddenly, the other clones came together and grabbed Kenpachi's clothes, and the Gremmy that had just been chopped off exploded. A huge explosion occurred, and Zaraki Kenpachi was instantly engulfed in a sea of fire. But did Gremmy really blow himself up? Impossible. At this time, Gremmy appeared again on the huge stone stage. Having exhausted most of his strength, he was extremely weak and gasping for air. But if you can kill Zaraki Kenpachi, it's worth it. However, at this time, a bruised Zaraki Kenpachi appeared in mid-air. What are you doing? You are really a monster. Gremmy was a little crazy. If he couldn't be killed like this, it would be really difficult. In that case, as long as my body becomes stronger than yours, it will be fine. He yelled at Kenpachi, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win. For the first time since he was born, he wanted to be better than others. I will destroy you to prove my strength. As he spoke, veins popped up in Gremmy's body, and his muscles became much larger. But suddenly, the bulging muscles collapsed, and the huge strength exceeded the limit that Gremmy's body could bear. He glanced at the collapsed limbs in panic, looking very helpless. You. Imagine me as a monster in your mind, and you were killed by that monster. That was really the desired result. Idiot. Kenpachi looked at Gremmy, who was lying in a pool of blood. Shook his head. Am I killed by my own imagination? In the thoughts of the self-destructive Gremmy? No, it's not. My imagination of his power is indeed almost perfect. Return to the battlefield. You are wrong, Zaraki Kenpachi. Gremmy, who was in a pool of blood, did not feel the loss of the loser at all, but looked at the winner with a smile. My image is correct, extremely correct. I have correctly imagined every aspect of your power, but the only thing I didn't imagine is being able to withstand that power. Just your body. It's not my imagination that loses to you, but my body. Kenpachi didn't speak the whole time and watched his performance quietly. Chapter 163, Urahara Kazuki is on the list. Kurotsuchi Mayuri is furious. Gremmy was discouraged and looked very unwilling. No, this is just an excuse for failure. In any case, it is a fact that my imagination lost to you. Ah, damn it, I really want to win. He gritted his teeth. If it weren't for the fact that his body couldn't bear the strength, he would definitely become more powerful than Zaraki Kenpachi. Soon, Gremmy's body turned into fragments and dissipated. Finally, a glass container containing brain flowers was left, which fell to the ground. Even Zaraki, who was a Kenpachi, couldn't help but frown when he saw this situation. He was really shocked. What are you doing? Zaraki Kenpachi asked. Didn't I say that I can kill you without even using a finger? Have you forgotten? The body is still breaking, and Sha Lemmy did not forget to respond to Zaraki Kenpachi. Ah, my imagination has almost reached its limit. Soon, Gremmy's body completely disappeared. It's so bleak. That's how I feel when I think about going to a world where I can't imagine anything. As the last eye disappeared, Sha Lemmy was left with only his head on the ground. The video ends here. Seirei, sure enough, there is a head left. Zaraki, you must bring the brain back to me. Kurotsuchi Mayuri looked at Zaraki Kenpachi expectantly. Not only was the head preserved, but it was also contained in a container, almost intact. If you want it, go get it yourself. I won't help you carry such a disgusting thing. Zaraki Kenpachi shook his head and said to Kurotsuchi Mayuri. This boy should be a life created by Gremmy's imagination, right? In fact, this brain is Gremmy's true form? Tōshirō had already guessed that the blonde boy was a life created by imagination. You can probably guess it from the way the boy disappeared from the picture. It's very possible, Captain. You said that this kind of brain can possess such powerful power as imagination. Could it be the brain of the Soul King? Rangaku's beautiful eyes widened, very curious. The brain of the Soul King. Kyoraku Shunsui frowned slightly. Ordinary people's brains do not have the ability to bud like this. The Soul King's brain seems reasonable, but the Soul King we saw before, although he has no limbs, but his head is still intact, it shouldn't be the Spirit King's brain. Jashiro nodded in agreement. The scattered power of the Spirit King is only something that is real at the moment. In the previous video, everyone saw the Spirit King for the first time, and his head was indeed intact. There's nothing surprising. This is the holy writing ability that you watch gave Gremmy's brain. Sui Feng said calmly. Gremmy's true strength is definitely more than that. He could imagine the power to surpass Captain Zaraki, but he didn't expect that his body could not bear it and he died. Omeda nodded. What the captain said is that if you change into Captain Zaraki's body, you can surpass him. Zaraki Kenpachi sneered when he heard this. Huh, I hope that guy can become stronger, but it's a pity that he didn't do it. This may be the reason why he is ranked 15th. 2 has invincible abilities, but there is no way to manifest them. This may be the tragedy of Gremmy's existence. Suya Palace. In the end, he died in his own hands. This power is really difficult to control. Grimjow shook his head with disdain in his expression. If you're to blame, it's probably because he's not very smart. He doesn't even know what his body can bear. It's really a waste of this strength. Noitra was equally sorry if this power was delivered to his lieutenants. Not to mention invincible, he can definitely become a stronger person than Zaraki Kenpachi. Invisible Empire. Oh my, I thought I was so awesome, but in the end I was defeated miserably by Zaraki Kenpachi. Pepe shook his head, glanced at Gremmy from the corner of his eye, then immediately looked away and continued. Even if he died at the hands of Zaraki Kenpachi here, it would not be much better than dying in your own hands now. Shut up. What do you know? Grammy roared angrily. My power far exceeds that of Zaraki Kenpachi. If his body hadn't been able to withstand it, he would have died long ago. That's right. Who made your imagination an imaginary body not as powerful as Zaraki Kenpachi? In essence, you have already lost. Pepe showed no mercy to Grammy at all, and his words were like swords piercing Grammy. No way. How could my imagination lose? It's fake, it must be fake. Grammy covered his ears, stood up from his seat, and looked around like a crazy person. When everyone saw this, they didn't react and just watched his performance quietly. But my heart was already filled with laughter. Urahara store. What a good power, but it was wasted. Urahara Kazuki shook his head, speechless. It's a pity that this ability exists in the Invisible Empire. If it were someone else, maybe he could still use it. No way, it's because Zaraki Kenpachi is too strong. Yoruichi waved his hand. Then who is more powerful, me or Kenpachi? Urahara Kazuki looked at Yoruichi with a smile. Yoruichi snorted. Then it must still be Zaraki Kenpachi. Kazuki. However, at this time, Sha Lamy took stock. The name of the 15th person on the mysterious gold list is engraved above. The next person's name appeared on the big screen. Number 14 on the combat power list, Urahara Kazuki. Name. Urahara Kazuki Faction. Urahara Shop Identity. Shinigami, Original. Abilities. Bankai, means X, 96 Defense, 95 Speed, 95. 98 Vitality. 96 Keto, 97 Ryatsu, 96. 2 million, Urahara Kazuki. That guy actually got to the 14th place, I'm really speechless. When Kurotsuchi Mayuri saw Urahara Kazuki's name, sparks suddenly appeared in her eyes. Although he knew that this ranking was very reasonable, he felt very guilty and unhappy. Ha ha ha, Captain Nirvana, Urahara Kazuki is indeed ahead of you. Your exclusive ability is technology, and his exclusive ability is means. I don't know what the difference is. Hieraku Shunsui raised the corners of his mouth, as if there was a pucker on his lips. There is a smile that seems like nothing. Kurotsuchi Mayuri glanced at him and her voice became urgent. What's the difference? The difference is that my technology is better than his methods. Hearing this, everyone covered their faces and smiled. It was clear that Kurotsuchi Mayuri was anxious. What Captain Nirvana said is that since your technology is so powerful, Urahara Kazuki's methods should also be very powerful. Jashiro laughed out loud. Kurotsuchi Mayuri folded his arms. Even if he has many tricks, he will die when facing an opponent like Panita. Chapter 164, Kazuki is the great inventor, Nirvana. They are all small inventions. Urahara store. Hey, I'm on the list. After Urahara Kazuki saw his name, he laughed wildly and turned his eyes to Yoruichi. 14th, so be it. Yoruichi folded his arms and pretended not to care. 14th is not high, you are only in the 30s, right? Urahara Kazuki smiled softly, and it was obvious that Yoruichi was pretending to be calm. Ranking higher than that kind of Quincy is an exaggeration. Moreover, Urahara Kazuki's combat power is 2 million, surpassing the previous one, Grammy, by 400,000. If converted, his strength far exceeds Kurotsuchi Mayuri and Hieraku Shunsui. You don't care where I rank. Aren't you called by Yuhabach for your special combat power? You should be in the top 10. Yoruichi said calmly. The special combat power is not invincible, okay. Look at Yuhabach's Star-Crossed Knights, they are all monsters. Kazuki waved his hand. It is unrealistic to surpass them by himself. Zai Palace. Urahara Kazuki. It's beyond imagination. Grammy is so good. Aizen on the throne had a faint smile on his lips. He knows Urahara Kazuki's strength better than anyone else. Ranking 14th was also what he expected. You must know that Kurosaki Ichigo, who is his chief research subject of 767, can slowly improve, all thanks to Urahara Kazuki. Although he and Urahara Kazuki are on opposite sides, he never hates her from the beginning to the end. This Shinigami must be the guy who dealt with Master Aizen back then. Zamari frowned, and after hearing the name, his eyes flashed with malice. Yes, Urahara Kazuki. Baragan snorted coldly. This guy's mind is not simple, he can definitely be a person of great responsibility. When we first took stock of Kurosaki Ichigo, Kurosaki Masaki was infected by the hollow. If it weren't for Urahara Kazuki, Kurosaki Masaki would have become a hollow. Later, the problem of Bankai being taken away was also solved. All of this shows that Urahara Kazuki is an unpredictable master. If it's a means, then he definitely has the development ability to surpass Kurotsuchi Mayuri. Grimjow's eyes sternly said, I'm really looking forward to how powerful his means are. Invisible Empire. Finally appeared, record the war calendar. Masco stood up very excitedly and looked at the surrounding members of the Star-Crossed Knights. The strength shown by the special combat power Zaraki Kenpachi that appeared before has exceeded everyone's imagination. First, he cut off Gerald's body, and then defeated a strong man like Remy. Although he was instantly killed by Panita, that was without understanding his abilities. As a special level combat power, Zaraki Kenpachi's slashing attacks certainly live up to his title. However, Urahara Kazuki's method is not too weak. The means are often more terrifying than the intuitive combat effectiveness. The combat power is more than 400,000 yuan than mine. Why? Grammy looked at Urahara Kazuki's panel in displeasure. There is only one ranking difference, but there is so much difference in combat effectiveness. You must know that Kuruji, who seems to be ranked 50th, has a combat strength of only 500,000. Between them, there is almost a Quincy with a combat strength. This made Grammy very unhappy. Grammy, what are you dissatisfied with? Can you take a look at that guy's panel? Pepe glanced at Grammy and taunted in a low voice. There is no need to mention attack and defense, they are similar. The Reiatsu value is also 96, which is a very high level. What is terrifying is that Urahara Kazuki's Kido value is as high as 97. A value of 97 placed on any attribute is top-notch. Even Mole Hoshuya, who can release high-level Kido without chanting, has Kido attributes of only 96. This is not the most outrageous thing. Look, this guy's intelligence is 98, which is the highest among all the people who have appeared so far. Jiluji frowned, unable to believe how terrifying the methods of a person with 98 intelligence were. Even the process of a Quincy turning into a hollow can be resolved through means. Is there anything else that he can't do? However, at this time, information appeared on the big screen. Open black lens bracket exhibition of some inventions of Urahara Kazuki, close black lens bracket. Black cloak. A Reiatsu that can completely hide the user, making it impossible for other Shinigami to detect the user's whereabouts. Close black lens bracket. A black robe appears on the screen. Urahara Kazuki once wore this cloak when he and Tessai Tsukubishi went to the scene to rescue Hiroko and others 100 years ago. Aizen and others used this cloak to sneak attack Shiba Ishin, seriously injuring him. Portable prosthetic skeleton. A prosthetic skeleton that can be quickly inflated like a balloon and can be used as a stand-in during combat. Close black lens bracket. Soul foreign object extraction medium. A technique for extracting objects from Shinigami or ordinary summoning bodies without causing harm to them. Close black lens bracket. Transformation of the divine body. Forcibly materialize the Zanpakuto body and summon it to the world where the swordholder is, so that the swordholder can defeat his own Zanpakuto and become Bankai. Close black lens bracket. Hogyoku. A small sphere with self-awareness, its true ability is to occupy the minds of all those who exist around it to understand and realize the thoughts of the people closest to it. Close black lens bracket. Anti-spiritual barrier liquid without soreness X, anti-spiritual spray to repel spirits X, electromagnetic tonic pill small ball Z. Many inventions make Kurotsuchi Mayuri feel ashamed. There are some inventions that Captain Nirvana can't do, right? Kashiwamura Sajin raised the corners of his mouth and chuckled, as if he wanted to see Kurotsuchi Mayuri's joke. Except for Hogyoku and Tenshin Body, how difficult are the other inventions? Urahara Kazuki is indeed more representative of these two things, and Niri's achievements in these aspects are indeed not as good as Kazuki's. But this doesn't mean that he can't do other inventions. He didn't even bother to invent things like anti-spiritual liquid without pain and anti-spiritual spray. You must know that Kurotsuchi Mayuri was imprisoned in the maggot's nest in the first place because scientific research was too dangerous. How could these little inventions defeat him? But, these two inventions are the most important, aren't they? Kashiwamura Sajin was unreasonable and very tyrannical. Yes, it's important. If it weren't for Urahara Kazuki who invented the complete Hogyoku, Aizen wouldn't have gained such a powerful power. You, a guy who doesn't know anything, shouldn't just talk about it, okay? Who is Kurotsuchi Mayuri? He might just watch others riding on his head and retaliate directly. Chapter 165. Another cross-dressing boss, Aizen is speechless. When Bai-kun Sajin heard this, his face suddenly turned as black as charcoal. We are all captains, there is no need to point our fingers at each other. Okay, no matter who it is, whether it is Kazuki or Captain Nirvana, it is the glory of our Seraiti to be at the top of the combat power list. Hieraku Shunsui saw that Kashiwamura Sajin and Kurotsuchi Mayuri were about to fight, and relieved. Change the atmosphere. In the past, Urahara Kazuki would not have been able to represent Seraiti. After all, he is a traitor who escaped from Soul Society. What a shame to Seraiti. But now Aizen's purpose and past actions have been exposed, and everyone knows that Urahara Kazuki was framed by Aizen. Although Urahara Kazuki has parted ways with Seraiti now, he is still Soul Society's Shinigami, the former captain of Division 12. Shout, I don't want to share the glory with that guy Urahara Kazuki. Kurotsuchi Mayuri waved her hand, her words and expression showing dissatisfaction with Kazuki. This world. Manager Urahara, I expected it to be him. A flash of confidence flashed in Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes. He has long expected Urahara Kazuki to be on the list, and it currently ranks 14th, which seems quite reasonable. Ichigo hasn't really seen Urahara Kazuki show off his powers, but he does have a lot of inventions. The means based on ability attributes are probably the main reason. That was the former director of Division 12 and the Technology Development Bureau. How can he not be awesome? Renji looked at Kurosaki Ichigo as if he were a fool, and complained, "You kid, are you still ranked at the top? You can be ranked in front of Urahara Kazuki. Ahem, there's nothing I can do about it. Who made me so powerful?" Kurosaki Ichigo cleared his throat, folded his arms, and looked into the distance with an inscrutable look. Renji glanced at him angrily and said nothing more. However, at this time, the picture was already playing on the big screen. This world. Tōshirō and other Shinigami stationed in Karakura town are fighting Arrancar. Previously, because of Grimmjow's random actions in reality, Aizen removed the position of Espada. The new six-blade Ruby is really the Arrancar who is fighting the Shinigami at this time. After returning to the blade, Ruby wears a mask in the center of her head, with 8 shape-changing tentacles sprouting from her back. 8 tentacles entangled the bodies of Tōshirō and others, and poisonous spikes sprouted from the heads. Just as they were about to stab several people, a red light suddenly struck, cutting off the tentacles and saving Shinigami at the same time. "Oh, I've caught up. Urahara Kazuki walked slowly on wooden clogs. It was really dangerous just now. But suddenly, Wanda Wise attacked from behind, helping Jigashin avoid it. It scared me. What was that move just now? I've never seen it before." Kazuki breathed a sigh of relief and asked Wanda Wise. But suddenly, a sharp pain came from behind, and Yami took advantage of Urahara Kazuki's attention to Wanda Wise to sneak attack with a false bullet. "Ha ha ha, let me tell you, that move just now is called a virtual bullet. Concentrate your own Reiatsu and then hit the enemy. Although the power is not as powerful as Sero, the speed is 20 times that of Sero." Yami smiled wildly, clenched his fist and fired another false bullet at the fallen Urahara Kazuki. "Oh my, Kazuki, you were unexpectedly attacked by a weakling like Yami. You are so stupid." Yoruichi pouted outside the video and mocked. "Young people don't respect martial ethics. This guy is really disgusting." Urahara Kazuki shook his head, of course he knew that this attack would not affect him at all. "Seraiti, is that Arrancar also an Espada? The Arrancar zombie created by Captain Nirvana before was her, right?" Shuhei frowned and looked at Kurotsuchi Mayuri curiously. Kurotsuchi Mayuri nodded. Although he thought there were no zombie experimental subjects yet, he would never forget the ones that had appeared before. "Really? With limited abilities in this world, you can't even defeat an unknown Arrancar." Madarame Akaku grinned and complained. In addition to Tōshirō and Rangaku, Akaku and Yumashika also appeared on the screen. All 4 of them were entangled in Ruby's tentacles, and if Urahara Kazuki hadn't appeared in time, Rangaku would have been hit by the poisonous sting. However, the appearance of Wanda Wise made it impossible for Kazuki to save the other 3 people. "If you act together with Yami, the serial number should be high." Nan analyzed. "Whether it's low or not, it's not embarrassing enough to be saved by Urahara Kazuki." Kurotsuchi Mayuri glanced at Rangaku and Tōshirō. It was such an embarrassment to Seraiti. "Zai Palace. Isn't that right? This is the guy ranked 14th. Yami crossed his arms with a look of disdain. "Even if you are ranked 14th, you still have to receive a beating from yourself. Yami, don't be too happy, maybe that guy is planning to use some method." Ulquiorra's expression did not change, and his words were indeed full of worry. "Then I'm not afraid. If he eats my moves, he will definitely not be unharmed." Return to the video screen. Yami seemed to be addicted to fighting. He punched down very quickly and fired a series of false bullets. "How about this move? You can't dodge it." As he beat him, he taunted. Go to hell, Clogs man. Really, since he is the one who blocked my attack, I should take care of him, that Yami guy." Ruby on the side looked at Yami's reckless look and shook her head helplessly. "No one can survive the way he fights. Forget it, there is nothing we can do. Let's continue again, sisters." He saw Rangaku being entangled by tentacles again. "You are so useless. The Clog Man is here to save you, but he will be caught soon, but there is nothing that can be done. After all, it is 8 versus 3, you have nowhere to escape. Please give me flowers. I'm talking about you." Rangaku stared at Ruby solemnly, and said with wavy lips, "I've been thinking about you since just now. You talk a lot." "So what? I hate men who talk too much. I always find them disgusting." "Sister, have you forgotten that you have been caught by me now?" Ruby looked solemn when she heard this, but she immediately laughed ferociously. "If you waste my fun, I will stab you to death immediately." Invisible Empire. Is that Ruby? A man? Bambietta looked at Ruby in the video, very surprised. The style of short hair, whether it is bangs, clothing, or movements, all look like a man. Another cross-dressing boss. "Giselle, you have a partner." Masco stared at Giselle. Although both of them were pretenders, Giselle was more realistic. 0. Ruby's voice still has a masculine tone, but Giselle's voice is exactly the same as that of a woman. Roll. Giselle glared at Masco. The video continues. Just when Ruby was feeling proud, ice suddenly formed on the tentacles behind her. Tōshirō's voice came. "You took the opponent you attacked once lightly. Don't you know the word, Kanshin? P.S. Kanshin. After the battle, the physical posture and mental preparation still remain unchanged." When Ruby saw this, she suddenly broke into a cold sweat and her voice trembled. "Why are you still alive? Hirinmaru is the strongest in the ice and snow system. Even if it is broken, as long as there is water, it can be restored at any time. You have no chance of winning. Tōshirō looked at it with a sharp look and raised Zanpakuto. I have a lot of time to prepare, you give me too much more time. If your weapon is 8 hands, then my weapon is all the moisture in the atmosphere. 1,000-year ice prison. As he spoke, a large number of icicles formed around Ruby, and they closed together in an instant, with Ruby's chest sealed in them. Sorry, 8 doesn't seem to be enough. Tōshirō mocked. Meanwhile, Akaku Yumashika and Rangaku escape. Nani, that guy Ruby was actually killed. Yami looked at the battle in the distance, a little angry. Damn it, it's all because of underestimating the enemy, this idiot, if this continues. Before he finished speaking, a sharp and funny voice came from behind. Aizen-sama will be angry. Urahara Kazuki puts his hand in front of his mouth to act as a megaphone. The throne of Zai Palace. Aizen looked at Urahara Kazuki's unattractive look and chuckled. Urahara Kazuki, you are still as unpredictable as before. Chapter 166, Analyzing the Structure of the Virtual Bullet, Arankar fled. Nani, I was killed by the 1,000-year ice prison. I can't understand. Tōshirō at this time is obviously still a rookie, right? Ruby frowned, feeling very depressed. In the video, I was already in the state of returning to the sword, but I was still killed by Tōshirō instantly. This makes him very embarrassed. What a weakling. Even Tōshirō is no match for you. What else can you do? Grimmjow looked at Ruby with disdain. The other captains couldn't beat Tōshirō, who was normal and had not grown up. He was considered a low-end combat leader among the captains. There are so many opponents, don't forget, I am fighting by myself. Ruby frowned tightly and looked at Shalom with a ferocious look. Okay, let me avenge you. Yami looked at Ruby and Grimmjow and said to stop the fight. As long as the opponent is not Zaraki's sword, 1208, he has hope of defeating him. Return to the video screen. After hearing Urahara Kazuki's contemptuous voice, Yami turned his head and waved his arms, his teeth itching with hatred. UB********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Kazuki held Beniji with both hands and looked at Yami with a dark look. Then, why? Are you looking down on me? B*******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************่************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************ Yami was furious, red lightning flashed on his fist, and he fired another blank bullet. Bang! A violent explosion occurred, and Urahara Kazuki disappeared into the smoke. Ha! What an idiot! I'm going to be shattered to pieces now. While Yami was proud, a Zanpakuto was suddenly loaded on his neck, causing his body to tremble. I've seen this trick many times, and it doesn't work for me anymore. With one slash, a violent explosion occurred around Yami. You can't understand. It was clear that all the hits in the storm of false bombs were hit, but why did this guy still survive? Urahara Kazuki asked himself, took out a black pill, and continued to explain. The answer is this. Quote. It looked like a pill, but when Urahara Kazuki put it to his mouth, it blew up into a black ball like a balloon. Then, another Urahara Kazuki appears as the black ball explodes. Seeing this, Yami was shocked and didn't know what happened. This is a portable prosthetic body. Urahara Kazuki pinched the prosthetic body's face and said funny. I've never seen or heard of that kind of thing. Because after I finished it, I haven't shown it to anyone yet. Kazuki said, squeezing Jisuke's face into a ball, speaking of which, although it's okay to try it out, it's still quite difficult to operate. Others may not be able to use it well. Quote. Even if it is used as a stand-in, it is difficult to grasp the timing of replacement. Soon, all the corpses were discouraged and turned into pieces of paper. He looked up at the shocked Yami and asked, so, what do you think about my use of technology? You don't know when I replaced it, do you? Invisible Empire. Isn't this thing just one of the many inventions shown just now? I didn't expect that we can also create clones through technology. It's really a good method. Gerald snorted coldly, still maintaining his attitude toward Urahara Kazuki when facing enemies like this. Normal state of mind, surprised. At first glance, he looks like someone from a wealthy family. The clone can only be used as a substitute, it's useless. Grammy said with some disdain. It's not like your own clone, which can increase your strength. This is an effective means of attack in actual combat. Come on, what's the use of your clone? It was still killed by Zaraki Kenpachi. Pepe glanced at Grammy coldly. No matter what way it is useless to lose. Return to the video screen. Damn it. Looking at Urahara Kazuki's annoying look, Yami suddenly became angry and swung the dummy bullet again. You are really confused. Urahara Kazuki calmly raised Beniji and drew a circle with the blade. Didn't I tell you, this trick is no longer useful to me. Exclamation mark. I saw Urahara Kazuki's body disappearing in an instant, and the main body had already arrived in front of Yami. Beniji's blade was aimed at Yami's fist, and the Sero that was about to be launched also disappeared. Yami's pupils were shaking and she couldn't understand what moves the other party was using. Just now, I have analyzed the spirit components of your move, as well as the muscle movement habits before launching. As long as you understand these 2 points, you can do it whether it is evasion or timing to offset the attack. Quote. Urahara Kazuki said calmly. However, it is actually quite difficult to do that, so, let's end it. Just when he was about to launch an attack, a negation light pillar suddenly fell from the sky and wrapped Yami in it. Yami had no intention of surviving the disaster. Instead, he said contemptuously, the mission is completed. At the same time, the rest of the Arrancar, and even Ruby, who was trapped in a 1,000-year ice prison, were rescued. What a pity, Captain, you couldn't kill me. Don't forget my face. Ruby raised her hand and pointed her index finger at Tōshirō with a very contemptuous expression. I will definitely do it the next time I meet you. Twist off your little head and smash it into pieces. Yami also said to Urahara Kazuki, remember the ending you said, until the next time you see me again, I will crush you the next time you end it. Unfortunately, the black cavity is closed, and Arrancar disappears from the world. Open black lens bracket Urahara Kisukev's Yami Yargo, interrupted. Close black lens bracket. Urahara Kazuki's and Yami's battles appear on the big screen. Although the displayed result is interruption, everyone knows that if the battle continues, Yami will die. Damn it, have you even analyzed the composition of the ghost bullet and the movement habits of the muscles before I launched it? Yami looked panicked and was sweating. Such a terrifying opponent is really rare to see. To be able to do 1.6 to such a thing in a very short period of time is worthy of a Shinigami with the ability of means. Grimmjow smiled evilly. It would be quite interesting if such a person could become his opponent. Yami, you just pretended to be cool when you were wrapped up by negation at the end, and you thought you would defeat Urahara Kazuki the next time it was over. I think you are dreaming. Zamari didn't save any face for Yami and directly attacked him. Shout, I can't beat you. I'm ranked 14th. How many ranks am I? Anyway, I just have to be better than you. Yami didn't want to quibble. If you meet Urahara Kazuki for the first time, he might actually be a bit harsh. But Urahara Kazuki has appeared many times in previous videos, and every time it gives people a very shocking feeling. Besides, he is not his opponent, or there is something wrong with his brain. Chapter 167. With an original technique, the store manager almost killed Hogyoku Aizen instantly. Urahara store. Oh my god, this Yami is so lucky. If negation hadn't appeared in time, he would have died early. Urahara Kazuki's mouth covered with a folding fan trembled slightly. Didn't you hear that I still refuse to obey you? I'm waiting to teach you a lesson the next time we meet. Yoruichi glanced at Urahara Kazuki. Kazuki smiled. I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know if Yami will have a chance to meet me before she is killed by Zaraki Kenpachi. It's a pity. He shook his head. I am obviously the superior side, but in terms of record, why is it an interruption? Not a victory. If you give him a little more time, he can kill Yami. This battle is simply a crushing battle of strength, and it is obviously a complete victory. This has nothing to do with strength. As long as the two sides of the battle have not finished the fight, or one side is not seriously injured, it will be considered interrupted. Yoruichi explained. The store manager is really unlucky. Xiao Yu complained. At the same time, the scene changed. Karakura town battlefield. Kurosaki Ichigo is fighting Aizen. Compared to the beginning, Ichigo clearly feels that Aizen is somewhat powerless. What's wrong? The movements have become sluggish. Is this the limit? Ichigo looked at Aizen in Hogyoku's first form and said with some disdain. Ah, it seems so. As a Shinigami, I have reached my limit. Aizen's face is as clear as water, and the Hogyoku on his chest emits white flock-like smoke, wrapping around his body. Really, Hogyoku is worthy of its name. This is the horizon that never connects gods and non-gods, a force that can destroy and disintegrate. As soon as he finished saying this, a red light shot from a distance and penetrated his shoulder, interrupting his evolution. After a brief moment of shock, Aizen returned to normal, glanced slightly sideways, and glanced at the figure behind him. Are you here, Urahara Kazuki? Seraiti. Is this the battle with Aizen? I'm really looking forward to it. Tōshirō's eyes were full of energy and he watched the video in high spirits. During the previous inventory of Kurosaki Ichigo, the information that Urahara Kazuki came to support had been exposed, but there was no follow-up. Tushi 14RO really hopes to see Urahara Kazuki defeat Aizen to vent his hatred. The image of Aizen using Kyoka Suigetsu to confuse everyone and replace Hinamori with himself taking damage is something Tōshirō will never forget. I'm afraid it's a little confusing. Although Urahara Kazuki is powerful, he still has no chance of winning against Aizen, who is fused with Yu Hogyoku. Kashiwamura Sajin frowned. Even the extremely poisonous Kamishini no Yari couldn't deal a fatal blow to Aizen. Urahara Kazuki, no matter how many tricks he had, probably couldn't have any effective method. Hey, Captain Komamura is wrong to think so. Maybe sealing Aizen is Urahara Kazuki's credit. Hiraku Shunsui believes in Urahara Kazuki. Aizen's back was sealed. Hiraku Shunsui could not imagine that other than Urahara Kazuki, anyone else could do such a thing. Well, I believe in Urahara too. Omaeda nodded in agreement, but she didn't expect to receive a slap in the face from Sui Feng. Sui Feng glared at Omaeda. You talk a lot, so shut up. Omaeda is very innocent. Others mentioned that Urahara Kazuki is fine, but I am the only one who is heavy, right? Captain. Sui Feng smiled. Yes. Te. The throne of Zai Palace. Fight with me. Aizen's face was filled with anticipation and curiosity. Urahara Kazuki's previous inventions, such as portable prosthetics and various pills, had no effect on him who possessed Hogyoku. He wanted to see what other methods Urahara Kazuki would use. Return to the video screen. Urahara Kazuki stood on the roof, the wind blowing his coat and long hair under his hat. He looked at Aizen solemnly and said, "Long time no see, Aizen. I haven't seen him in 100 years. It's only been 100 years since I changed into such a strange outfit. Everything will become ugly first in the process of evolution." Aizen said, and the wounds on his body that were penetrated by Hongji healed as before during the conversation. No one said you look ugly. Have you merged with Hogyoku? Urahara Kazuki stared at Hogyoku on Aizen's chest carefully. It's not fusion, it should be said that you obeyed me, Hogyoku, which you couldn't control before. Can't control it. That's true, but it was just at that time. Kazuki's eyes darkened slightly. At that time, you really didn't give up until you reached the Yellow River. No, it doesn't matter whether you give up or not, it's the same to me, because you have already. After saying this, Aizen disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he had already arrived in front of Urahara Kazuki and pierced the latter's chest with Kyoko Suigetsu. Instant kill. Aizen-sama is so awesome. Zamari shouted excitedly outside the video. Could this be that damn portable prosthetic skeleton again? Yami was shocked, thinking that Urahara Kazuki would never be killed so easily. It's possible that Urahara Kazuki, who has so many tricks, could be defeated so easily. Apache nodded in agreement. When Zamari heard this, he immediately became angry and glared at Apache. Don't you believe in Lord Aizen's strength? With Harabel at the helm, how could Apache be afraid of Zamari? It's because you don't use your brain to think, and you can tell at a glance that Urahara Kazuki won't be defeated so easily. It's also because I don't believe in Lord Aizen's strength. You're just too stupid. Got it. Okay. Harabel shouted at Apache. Zamari's eyes widened angrily. Anyway, in terms of hard power, no one can beat Aizen-sama. Return to the video screen. The opportunity is far lost. Aizen said, and suddenly Urahara Kazuki, who was stabbed, turned into a balloon and disappeared. Yami guessed that this Urahara Kazuki is a portable prosthetic skeleton. Aizen was startled suddenly. He was so confused that he didn't realize that Urahara Kazuki had appeared behind him. When he turned around to look, Urahara Kazuki's palm had already reached his back, releasing Kito's 6-staff light prison. No chant Bakudo 61, for the attribute panel Kito 97's Urahara Kazuki, is simply easy to pick up. Golden light wrapped around Aizen's body, but he smiled contemptuously. So, this kind of prop appeared in your battle record with Yami, and now I let you use this trivial trick. I was careless. Then, you only rely on this level of Bakudo to bind me. Do you want anything from me? This level of Bakudo. Urahara Kazuki raised his gaze with a solemn expression. Why do you think it's only this level? Continue casting Kito. The 63 of Bakudo, bound by chains, the 79 of Bakudo, bound by 9 rays. As thick snake-like chains wrapped around Aizen, 9 black spiritual creatures suddenly appeared. Seeing this kind of scene, everyone outside the video was dumbfounded. Another set of Bakudo 3-part series. Urahara Kazuki actually released the 9 light binding including Bakudo 79 without chanting. Katetsu Azane's eyes widened, completely in disbelief. When I first took stock of Unohana Retsu, there was no chant-free release of the group leader, 7009. It's not that I don't believe that Unohana Retsu doesn't have that ability, but that Urahara Kazuki is too exaggerated. Kito's value is 97, are you kidding me? Here aside. In the video, Urahara Kazuki starts chanting after releasing the helpless 3-fold Bakudo. The end of the Senju, the unreachable hands of the Dark Lord of Koden, the unreachable archer of the sky, the path of radiance spreading, fanning the wind of fire. When we gather together, there is no need to be confused, just follow my instructions. Light bullet 8 body 9 articles Tian Jingji Bao big wheel, the gray turret, leads the bow into the distance, and dissipates brightly. Pipe. Do you think I will let you use this Kito? Such a trick. Aizen's eyes tightened. It's too late. Hado number 91 Senju Kyuden Taipao. Countless light cannons floated around Urahara Kazuki, and instantly gathered to attack Aizen. Boom. The violent explosion, accompanied by red light, caused a movement that surprised everyone around him. Soon, the reverberations of the explosion disappeared and the smoke dissipated. Aizen, it seems that you really started to be careless because you obtained the power of Hogyoku. Urahara Kazuki said solemnly. You're right. Aizen's voice suddenly appeared behind Kazuki, and he quickly turned to look. Too late. To fight tooth for tooth, Aizen turned his hand into a sword and slashed at Urahara Kazuki. At this time, half of a white mask has appeared on his face, and he is about to enter his second form. It doesn't matter if I'm careless, because I no longer need to be vigilant and defensive. I can feel that after Hogyoku surrendered to my body, it gave me power far beyond what I had in Soul Society. No one can match it. Even Kito number 90 doesn't need to dodge anymore. That's not the case. Urahara Kazuki stared at him. Your negligence is not that you did not seize the orbital attack. If it were you before, you would never have let me touch it twice without preparation. Quote. This is so funny. Does Urahara Kazuki mean that Aizen-sama's strength has regressed? Zamari outside the video was very unhappy. Even Hado 911 can't pose a threat to Aizen. I don't know what else you have. Method. The difference in strength is too big. Neutra also said that this kind of Kido with chance is far more powerful than the previous Kido without chance in Mole City. Infinitely. Mole Chungshuang also smiled slightly and said to Yulu Zaliu beside him. There is no way, Aizen fused with Hogyoku is too strong, even this Kido can't cause harm to him. The Hogyoku that starts with a sword seems to have been developed by Urahara Kazuki. Maybe he has a solution. There was a sneer in Yulu Zaliu's voice. I asked why your Hado 911 is not as powerful as Urahara Kazuki's. Ah. Shut up. Mole Chungshuang also glanced at Yulu Zaliu and shouted to stop her. It's okay if you have some chanting lyrics. Return to the video screen. Aizen's hands had a golden halo, and his pupils shrank suddenly. This is Seal. Urahara Kazuki pressed the plaid hat downwards and said in a deep voice. Aizen was a little frightened, recalling what happened before. When he attacked the portable prosthetic skeleton and Urahara Kazuki's main body, it seemed that his arms were touched by each other. I sealed the Reiatsu outlet that all Shinigami have on both hands, and you will be burned out of your body by your own Reiatsu. Urahara Kazuki explained. At the same time, Aizen's body began to produce Reiatsu that could not be released. These Reiatsu emitted extremely dazzling light and vibrations. Urahara Kazuki fell from the air in front of Kurosaki Ichigo and said 907, this is not over yet. It would be too simple to end it like that. It would be just an ordinary monster. He will come out soon. Quote. He had already predicted that Aizen would evolve. As expected, figures of each other slowly appeared in Reiatsu. The second fusion form of Aizen appears in front of everyone. It's quite a trick, but I didn't expect that Lord Aizen could break the shackles and enter a new form. Zamari was very excited outside the video and was in a fit of laughter. It is not easy to think of the outlet of the seal. But the invincible Aizen-sama, what are you afraid of? I haven't seen Master Aizen fight in this form yet. I don't know how strong he will be. Yami watched eagerly. Aizen in the video was looking forward to it. Saraiti. Is there such a move? It shouldn't be Kido, right? Tōshirō was confused. There is no Kido that can seal Reiatsu's outlet. No. Unohana Retsu explained. Perhaps this is a move independently developed by Urahara Kazuki. Hieraku Shunsui's eyes flashed brightly, full of admiration for Urahara Kazuki. He is trying to use Aizen as a balloon. If the air cannot be discharged, it will inevitably cause damage. Itself. As expected of a means, you can think of such a move. Kashiwamura Sajin was a little surprised. If Aizen didn't have Hogyoku, he would have been killed. The video continues to play. Aizen looked at the aura still remaining on his wrist and murmured, use Kido number 90 as bait to lure me into attacking, and then use the technique you developed to burn me from the inside. His voice became full of technology. If the opponent hadn't been me, no, if I hadn't conquered Hogyoku, the battle would have been over. Aizen took out the aura on his wrist and continued, but unfortunately, the Hogyoku you made yourself has exceeded the scope of your understanding. Is this a technique created to fight me? He squeezed it lightly and the halo shattered. This kind of thing doesn't work for me at all. 17. Urahara Kazuki was silent for a moment and pulled out Benihime. If you can't use magic, why don't you just use the sword? Aizen was still mocking. Kazuki made no reply and raised his Zanpakuto towards Aizen. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo took the opportunity to sneak attack, but Aizen easily defused it with taijutsu, and Kazuki took advantage of the situation to attack. The two of them tied up Aizen's wrists and ankles with chains attached to the Reiatsu, and pulled hard, and Aizen's body was instantly implanted. What kind of trick is this? This kind of thing. Aizen was a little confused, but suddenly, a figure fell from the sky. Chapter 168, Couple Show. Aizen is so numb after eating dog food. Yoruichi, whose limbs were covered with armor, roared angrily, brought his hammers together, and slammed them into Aizen's back. Bang! The violent explosion centered on Aizen and spread rapidly. Aizen was beaten to the ground by this powerful force, and his whole face was pressed to the ground. He squinted at Yoruichi and said with difficulty, "You guy, Yoruichi." Before he finished speaking, Yoruichi was like a wild beast that had escaped its shackles, raising his fists and going crazy for years. With just a physical attack, the buildings of Karakura town began to collapse. As Yoruichi's power so strong? Kira outside the video opened her eyes in disbelief. When I took stock of Yoruichi before, she fought against Yasukin, and what she mainly showed at that time was her ability to transform. Thunder fighting cats. But I didn't expect that in addition to her agility, her power is also so terrifying. Perhaps this is due to the armor Yoruichi wears on his arms. Tōshirō narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at what looked like crab claws on Yoruichi's arms and legs. If I guess correctly, this thing was also invented by Urahara Kazuki to help Yoruichi fight. Jashiro scratched his head and said. It must be like this, otherwise Yoruichi with ordinary strength would not be able to cause such a blow to Aizen in Hogyoku's fusion form. Kashiwamura Sajin frowned tightly. In addition to things like portable prosthetics, Urahara Kazuki can also create weapons. Seeing this, Kurotsuchi Mayuri snorted in displeasure. Isn't it just a broken instrument? What's the big deal? This level of damage poses no threat to Aizen at all. Although the scene is quite shocking, it is not that simple to hurt Aizen. Return to the video screen. After Aizen was beaten, a human-shaped pit appeared on the ground, and he fell into it. How about a little bit? Yoruichi's eyes were sharp, and he wanted to ask Aizen how it felt to be punched, but suddenly, Urahara Kazuki shouted at her, "Yoruichi, get out of the way." Hearing this reminder, Yoruichi frowned, but it was too late. Boom! A purple beam of light shot straight into the sky. This is Aizen's exposed Reiatsu. Yoruichi leaned back. His left foot was still covered by Reiatsu, but because of the armor on his legs, only the armor was broken, but his body was not harmed. Then she quickly retreated to Urahara Kazuki's side. What's wrong? It's not over yet, right? Aizen stood up. A hurricane surrounded him, and said with some disdain, "Hurry up and make the next move. I will crush your attacks one by one until I defeat your last and first move." He walked towards Urahara Kazuki and said as he walked, "The number of means created to defeat me is proof of your efforts and abilities, and it is also the number of hopes you have. Then what I have to do is destroy them all. Come on, you can make your next move." Aizen stopped where he was and his tone became very gentlemanly. "Urahara Kazuki, Shihuan Yoruichi, and Kurosaki Ichigo. Hey, my head is getting bigger now." Urahara Kazuki saw Aizen's appearance, sighed, and looked at Yoruichi's left foot. This is a special steel armor specially designed to deal with steel skin, and it can be destroyed so easily. Yoruichi glared at Kazuki coldly. "What do you mean? You made it sound like I broke it." "I didn't mean that, obviously. You just want to say that it was all caused by my carelessness, right?" Yoruichi looked at Urahara Kazuki with a ferocious expression. "Speaking of which, it's all because you didn't put in enough effort when making it, right? Being distracted during the production stage is the root cause." I know. Urahara Kazuki was confused by Yoruichi's sinister appearance. "Isn't this just a pair?" Hiraku Shunsui outside the video stroked his hat with a faint smile on his lips. "What do you mean, captain of the Beijing band?" When Sui Feng heard this, his brows knitted together and he glared at Hiraku Shunsui. "Why do you call this a pair? Look at this interaction, isn't it just like Abarai and Rukia's usual style?" Hiraku Shunsui explained unhurriedly. "Look, Abarai and Rukia are a couple. Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi are very similar." Quote, "Captain Jingyuan, your speculation is too." Rukia's mouth twitched. How could she judge whether they were husband and wife in the future in this way? Although she often quarreled with Abarai Renji, she also often quarreled with Kurosaki Ichigo, which doesn't mean anything. But Yoruichi and Urahara do look like a couple. Rukia thought to herself but did not say it out loud. She is afraid that Sui Feng will eat her. Return to the video screen. Aizen, who was eating dog food on the side, was not idle and seemed to have figured out something. "I see. If your foot is still fine after being hit by me, it means it is indeed special." Hearing this, Yoruichi raised his left foot, exposed his foot, and grinned. "Are you talking about my foot?" Urahara Kazuki on the side covered his mouth with a fan in disgust. When Yoruichi found out, he punched him in the face and said angrily, "What kind of expression do you have?" "Ah, it hurts so much." Aizen ignored their flirting and walked closer. "There is nothing to be excited about. There is no point in arguing about what is special." His eyes were dead. "Since I can make someone disappear with one swing of the sword, then as long as I swing the sword 3 times, that special thing will disappear with it. Disappear." He came. "I know. Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi get serious. Can we still fight?" Kazuki was worried about Yoruichi. "Who are you talking to? As long as you attack with parts other than your left foot, it will be fine." However, at this time, Aizen had already teleported to her side, swung his sword, and Yoruichi was instantly rushed into the air. Urahara Kazuki was a little worried, but Aizen's attack in front of him completely distracted him. Benihime blocked Kyoka Suigetsu, and Kurosaki Ichigo took advantage of the situation and attacked from a flank. After being knocked into the air, Yoruichi stabilized his body and fell from the sky. Forming a front-to-back attack, the Japanese side is attacking from a pincer attack. Bang! A violent impact erupted, Aizen stood still, and the other 3 were ejected. "It's so difficult to deal with." Yoruichi frowned outside the video, unable to imagine any other way to defeat Aizen. "Oh my, let's fight slowly." Urahara Kazuki remained nonchalant and showed an evil smile. "How about you just transform into the form of the Thunder Warrior?" "Get out." Yoruichi gave Urahara Kazuki a hard look. "You still want to take advantage of me, right?" Return to the video screen. Yoruichi was thrown away and rushed towards Aizen again. When Aizen wanted to defend himself, his knife-wielding arm was wrapped in a chain by Urahara. He didn't care, and stretched out his other hand to defend Yoruichi's steel armor. What a useless move. Taking advantage of Aizen's two hands being restrained, Kurosaki Ichigo came at him with a knife. I said it was useless. Aizen didn't change his expression. After breaking free from the chains, he knocked Yoruichi and Kurosaki Ichigo away with a knife. At the same time, the steel armor on Yoruichi's right arm was also destroyed. No problem. I told you, do you know who you are asking? Because of your useless armor, I had to block the attack. If there were not these obstacles, of course I could easily dodge without getting hurt. Facing Urahara Kazuki concerned, Yoruichi thinks it's not a big problem. Hearing this, Kazuki showed an imperceptible smile. I'm really sorry. He immediately turned to look at Aizen solemnly and said, what are you looking at? Looking at you. Aizen actually replied seriously, I was thinking that pretending to be worried is part of the battle, so I looked at you. Don't you need to be on guard? It's not a warning, but an observation. You are the only person in Soul Society who has a better mind than me. Even if the power is not equal, I am still very interested in you. Urahara Kazuki stroked his hat, you are too generous. Now I am just an insignificant grocery store manager. With that said, he picked up Hongji. Hado number 32, yellow fire flash. A golden light burst out instantly. Aizen simply raised his hand and used the Zanpakuto in his palm to block the attack. You should know that there is absolutely no point in using Kido number 30, but you still want to use it, which means, there must be a scam in it. Sure enough, after the golden light disappeared, Yoruichi came from it, and the continuous attacks did not make Aizen panic at all. With just one arm, he was able to defend himself against Yoruichi's all-out attack. You really like the same technique. Don't you understand? Even if you use thousands of strikes, you still can't defeat me. Instant coax. Suddenly, Yoruichi changed his style of play and instantly activated Shuncool. Thunder and lightning wrapped around the armored arm, and this punch directly shattered Aizen's coat and knocked him to the ground. Yoruichi took advantage of the victory and pursued, but was still defended by Aizen. I should have said, you can't defeat me. Aizen stared at Yoruichi. Tie them up, Beniji. At this time, Urahara Kazuki launched a surprise attack, and the blade emitted black and red web-like reiatsu that resembled a spider web, directly trapping Aizen. You think something like this can bind me? Aizen turned to look at Urahara Kazuki contemptuously. Urahara Kazuki fell to the ground, inserted the Zanpakuto into the ground, squinting with a gloomy look, play with fire, Benihime. Count the beads. Chapter 169, Level 4 Hogyoku Aizen vs. Long-haired Ichigo. Play with fire, Hongji. Bead counting system. Many small fireballs instantly appeared on the black-red net, neatly arranged on top, and exploded. Boom. The intensity of the explosion gradually increased, and finally a pillar of fire shot into the sky. Even so, Aizen's voice came out from the firelight. He was not harmed at all and taunted, it's really funny. Is this trick a killer? Aizen-sama is so strong. Zamari outside the video was immediately ecstatic. An explosion of this intensity would probably have been burned to charcoal by anyone else. As a result, Aizen's coat was not damaged. Didn't Master Aizen say that there is a gap between them in terms of strength, but I never expected that Master Aizen would take the initiative to say that someone's intelligence is higher than his. Yami's eyes widened, very surprised. Except for Urahara Kazuki, Master Aizen probably wouldn't say this to anyone else. On his attribute panel, his intelligence is 98. It's almost perfect and no one else's intelligence can surpass him. Apache sighed. This is a talent that uses intelligence to create a world. Baragan also shook his head. Zamari chuckled. No matter how high his intelligence is, what's the use? In the face of absolute power, he is as weak as an ant. Return to the video screen. Just when Aizen was about to counterattack 840. Crescent Moon Celestial, Kurosaki Ichigo came forward with a knife. Blue-white light covered the land of Karakura town and submerged Aizen. How is it? Urahara Kazuki comes to Kurosaki Ichigo's side. I don't know, after turning into that form, Aizen's reiatsu can't be read at all. It's really terrifyingly strong, but when fighting, when I slash with a sword, there is a feeling that there is nothing there. It's really shocking. Sheep are creepy. Kurosaki Ichigo broke out in cold sweat. Although he couldn't see anything on the surface, he knew in his heart that this blow would not cause any harm to Aizen. The only people who can feel Aizen's power now are people in the same position as him. Just then, Aizen stepped out of the light, causing Kurosaki Ichigo and Urahara Kazuki to feel nervous. What a beautiful slash. I understand the attack just now. When all Aizen's figures emerged, Kazuki and Ichigo discovered that his face had been chopped open by the Getsuga Tensho. The gaping wounds were not like ordinary bloody flesh, but cracks that shone like stars. Apparently this is what Hogyoku is capable of. What's in that? What's going on? Kurosaki Ichigo didn't understand what happened, and looked at Aizen's wound carefully. It's about time I let you understand my power. Aizen held Zanpakuto in front of him, and a sharply oppressive reiatsu suddenly burst out. And emit endless purple light. On the other side, the battle between Kurosaki Ichigo and Ichimaru Jin is still going on. Bang bang bang. The shock made him startled. Then I saw Urahara Kazuki, Kurosaki Ichigo and Shihuen Yoruichi falling to the ground. No match at all. Even if 3 people join forces, they are no match for Aizen. Tōshirō outside the video couldn't help but feel worried for the 3 of them. Even Aizen didn't use his strength, and the 3 of them were no match. If he advances to a more advanced form, who will still be his opponent? Does Urahara Kazuki have no means? Hiroku Shunsui was also surprised. Come to think of it, Aizen who is fused with Hogyoku, no matter how many tricks he has, what's the use? Return to the video screen. However, this time the scene changed. Aizen kills Ichimaru Jin, Kurosaki Ichigo reappears. Ichigo grabbed Aizen's head and flew into the sky from Karakura town, finally landing in a deserted open space. Boom. Aizen, who was in his 4th fusion form, fell hard. He covered his head and stood up, a little dazed. His voice was trembling a little. How is it possible that you could kill me with just brute force? He couldn't believe what Kurosaki Ichigo had been through these days to be able to catch him in this form with his bare hands. This world. It's Kurosaki-san, it just happened to be connected to the last BEFG clip. Inoue Orihime was very excited and looked at Kurosaki Ichigo in surprise. To be able to forcefully defeat Aizen in this form, how powerful this must be. You look like you have just returned from training. Your hair has grown so long. Renji curled his lips and said unconvinced. It's just such a blow. Although your expression becomes serious, you can really defeat Aizen. I don't know if I can beat Aizen, but I know I can definitely beat you. Kurosaki Ichigo smiled evilly. The throne of Zai Palace. Kurosaki Ichigo, this form. Aizen watched the images in the video with great interest. At the time of review, Kurosaki Ichigo had only appeared for a short time, and Aizen was not aware of his improvement. But now it seems that after practicing, he is definitely beyond his imagination. This is my 4th form, Hogyoku mode. You held me down with just one slap. It was really hard. Saraiti. Is this the scene at this time? Rangaku's expression suddenly became depressed. The picture once again brought back Ichimaru Jin's memories, making her a little pessimistic. Although I don't know what Kurosaki Ichigo has been through, he can definitely compete with Aizen. Toshiro's eyes were sharp, and he seemed full of hope in defeating Aizen. Let's get started, Aizen. Kurosaki Ichigo did not hesitate at all. I will end this battle in an instant. End this battle instantly. Aizen was a little surprised. After carefully observing the changes in Kurosaki Ichigo, he smiled slightly. I see, I understand, Kurosaki Ichigo, the reason why your Reiatsu disappeared. Your Reiatsu did not disappear, but you abandoned it. Although I don't know what technique you used, you turned all Reiatsu into the power of your own spirit body. It is your wrist strength and leg strength. Grip strength is also the power of running. Aizen's eyes were gloomy. He understood that Kurosaki Ichigo had greatly improved all his physical abilities at the expense of giving up Reiatsu, because the opponent completely gave up fighting him with Reiatsu. But you'd better despair as soon as possible. Let me tell you, even the physical ability that you regard as your only hope is far from being able to match mine. As he spoke, the Hogyoku on Aizen's chest emitted a dazzling light. Immediately afterwards, the wings similar to butterfly wings on the back began to slowly unfold, blooming like flying insects. What is it? Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes were serious. Aizen's body emitted purple light, and then disappeared like dust. Ichigo rolled his eyes to find Aizen's location, but he never thought that Aizen teleported behind him. One swing of the knife. Kurosaki Ichigo immediately turned around and raised his arms, causing Tensa Zangetsu to collide with him. Boom. The aftermath of the attack directly cut off the surrounding peaks. Chapter 170, 50-50. Ichigo slapped Aizen in the face, shocking everyone. This scene directly caused everyone outside the video to explode. No, is it just the aftermath of the battle that causes such shocking fluctuations? Toshiro frowned tightly, with an imminent thought in his heart. He wanted to see if his moves could have such destructive power. It's really strong. In this form, Kurosaki Ichigo can actually block Aizen's slashing attack with Zanpakuto. Shubei was also very shocked. You must know that it was the 4th form of Hundama Aizen. You can't say it's Kurosaki Ichigo in this form. Except for his hair getting longer, the rest has not changed. Rukia observed very carefully, and Zanpakuto changed slightly, but it was not obvious. Hiroku Shunsui's attention was not on Kurosaki Ichigo, but on Aizen. He said solemnly, did Aizen disappear in an instant just now? He could tell that this was not the so-called Shunpo. Or perhaps, the sound of Arankar. Or maybe it's the Quincy's flying side legs. Instead, it truly disappears in an instant and then appears in another place. Yes, Hiroku, this is not an ordinary movement ability, it is more like a change in space. Jashiro couldn't help but swallowed. He had never seen anyone use this ability. Even Yamamoto Genryuzai does not have such a move that spans time and space. It's really scary. It's like he disappeared out of thin air. If it hadn't been for Kurosaki Ichigo, no one else would have been able to notice where Aizen landed in the first place. Rangaku was surprised that Kurosaki Ichigo not only had a huge increase in strength, but also in agility. The strength has also improved a lot. Since it can be detected, it means that Kurosaki Ichigo is not weak. Kashiwamura Sajin has hope. Invisible Empire. What the hell was that just now? There are also moves that can instantly change positions. In this form, Aizen is as powerful as His Majesty. Masco's eyes widened in surprise. Even the existence of the demigod Lee Jae-Luo has no way to use this ability. It's really beyond the dimensions we can understand. At this time, Aizen has probably become the top combat power of Shinigami. Asinat said. At this time, Aizen no longer belongs to Shinigami. He has admitted it himself. Robert's eyes flashed brightly. If he still belongs to Shinigami, he is a more powerful Shinigami than Yamamoto Genryuzai. Pepe smiled coldly. Robert, have you forgotten the fact that you failed in the sneak attack on Yamamoto Genryuzai and almost got killed? Robert, return to the video screen. After the two collided, they each took 2 steps back. Thank you for being able to avoid it, but you should be surprised. I just waved my sword lightly, and the terrain changed so drastically. This is my power now. Aizen stared at Kurosaki Ichigo, as if he was above everything else at this moment. Above. To be honest, I didn't expect that my abilities would improve so much. I'm very happy, Kurosaki Ichigo. It's all thanks to you. This surpasses the power of Kion and Shinigami. I can finally try to my heart's content. Quote. After Aizen finished speaking, he charged away again like a cannonball. The two of them clashed together again, and with every slash, the surrounding environment was greatly damaged. The mountain is even directly cut into regular squares. Boom boom boom. It was as if the sky was falling apart and the thick fog was slowly rising. Those who didn't know better thought it was a natural disaster. It's not over yet, Kurosaki Ichigo, do you think I can't predict this level of action? Aizen said as he attacked, the ground continued to be destroyed. Another knife, Kurosaki Ichigo intercepted again. What's incredible is that it seems that we have finally completed a similar evolution of merging our right hand with Zanpakuto. Aizen's Zanpakuto no longer has a hilt, and is held in his hand as if it comes with his body. Kurosaki Ichigo's Tensa Zangetsu is connected with chains and black sleeves. Maybe this state is Zanpakuto's original appearance, maybe. As he said that, Aizen grinned. What's so funny? Ichigo remained aloof. Through the confrontation just now, it is obvious that there is indeed a dimensional gap in the degree of evolution between you and me. Aizen didn't show any seriousness from the beginning of the battle. Although he was surprised, Kurosaki Ichigo had the ability to catch himself with his bare hands, but only for that moment. His gaze became fierce, and the black vertical pupils on his head seemed to open. If I want to, with just a flick of my hand, your Zanpakuto will be instantly broken into pieces. As he spoke, he raised his arms and waved vigorously. Zanpakuto is like a bolt of lightning, slashing towards Kurosaki Ichigo. However, Kurosaki Ichigo's melancholy eyes did not change at all. He easily raised his arm and easily received the blow with his left hand. What a catch-all with bare hands. Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark exclamation mark quote. Zamari's eyes outside the video were so wide that they almost fell out of their sockets. Please give me flowers. He couldn't believe what he saw. Isn't it possible? Kurosaki Ichigo actually caught Aizen-sama's slash with his bare hands. You need to know what Aizen just said. There is a dimensional gap in their strength, and judging from Aizen's appearance, this attack seems to be serious. The results of it being slapped in the face. The slashing was carried out so easily. Doesn't this mean that the gap between the two is indeed a dimensional distance? Grimmjow waved his hand and said with a raised lip, however, the one standing above is Kurosaki Ichigo. It's not Aizen. Zamari saw Grimmjow's look and instantly became angry. Grimmjow, what are you talking about? You dare to question Master Aizen's strength. If you continue to be disrespectful to Master Aizen, I will not spare you. 0. Oh. Grimmjow smiled upon hearing this. Don't you know why I am ranked 6th and you are 7th? If you really don't know, I can let you know. Okay. Let's stop arguing. Baragan glanced at the two of them. Anyway, Aizen and Kurosaki Ichigo are now much stronger than Shinigami and Kion. If you want to fight, fight with the two of them. The throne of Zai Palace. Aizen's face was no longer as reserved as before, and he almost stood up from the throne in surprise. This is just empty hands. Although he did not personally feel the power of becoming Hogyoku Fusion Form 4, he also knew that this power could already stand at the top of Soul Society. However, Cheng Yaojin came out halfway. Kurosaki Ichigo is even 50-50 with me. No, it's not 50-50. Even crushed once. Aizen couldn't believe it. He was immortal, how could he let Kurosaki Ichigo be defeated? But he also knew that he had reservations in the video. Now he just wants to see how powerful Kurosaki Ichigo is right now. This world. Gulu. Kurosaki Ichigo swallowed hard. He himself didn't expect that his progress would be so huge. Moreover, this feeling of being slapped in the face is so satisfying. You guys have the potential to surpass Captain Yamamoto. Renji frowned. He was not talking nonsense, but Kurosaki Ichigo really has such potential. Hey, it will happen sooner or later. Following the trend, Kurosaki Ichigo smiled and scratched his head. He was not vague at all, pretending to be a wolf. Chapter 171. Defeat the strongest black coffin with one hand, a power beyond dimensions. Return to the video screen. It was this time when they took the sword with bare hands that a crack suddenly appeared on the ground beneath their feet. However, the next second, except for the land above the two people's platform, the rest of the ground collapsed like a vast ocean. Boom. Everything within 100 meters of the surrounding area was razed to the ground. Aizen's eyebrows tightened, as if he had the most surprised expression since he was born. How is it possible that I actually accepted it? Kurosaki Ichigo would understand if he avoided it. But what the hell is it to take a sword with bare hands? No, originally, he couldn't have the speed to avoid my attack. Even so, if he could avoid it, I could still accept it, but he took my blow. Aizen's whole face was distorted. What are you surprised about? Kurosaki Ichigo is as calm as Shisui, but his eyes are as sharp as a knife. I blocked your knife, so you can't believe it. Are you scared? Something happened in front of you that you can't understand. Hearing this, Aizen sneered. You are so funny, Kurosaki Ichigo. He turned over and jumped away from Kurosaki Ichigo. Am I unbelievable? Don't talk to me in such a tone as if you were bragging about victory. It was just that your physical ability was instantly higher than mine. This kind of miracle happens sometimes. But for the existence above this, in order to prevent this kind of miracle from happening again, I will use Kido to defeat you and turn you into dust. Aizen's tone became irritable and he raised his hand to the sky. A burst of sharply oppressive power burst out from his body, and at the same time emitted a purple-black color that resembled gravity, symbolizing the evil Reiatsu. The turbid coat of arms is faintly revealed, and the unruly and arrogant talent surges, denies, and paralyzes for a moment, hindering eternal sleep. The crawling iron princess, the clay doll that keeps mutilating itself, combine, rebound, and extend to the ground, know your own powerlessness. Reiatsu is like a strong wind, blowing Aizen's long hair, his face becomes ferocious, and he chants the chant. Hado number 90 black coffin. Boom. The entire sky suddenly darkened, and a large area of black material suddenly emerged from the shaking ground, slowly gathering into a black coffin-like struggling venom. I have surpassed the hollow and Shinigami, and the fully chanted black coffin I released can produce a gravity flow like a distortion of space and time. I must not even be able to understand it. Kurosaki Hikaru. Aizen yelled at Kurosaki Ichigo crazily. Is this black coffin? Kashiwamura Sajin outside the video was sweating coldly. Seeing this scene, he recalled again the scene when he was instantly killed by Aizen's black coffin. However, what Aizen released at that time was just ordinary black coffin. There are not even chants. Naturally, the power is not as great as Kido's chanting words. But even if Black Coffin recited the entire chant, it wouldn't be as exaggerated as in the video. Gravity is like the distortion of space and time. This ability is the inherent ability of Kido in this form of Aizen. Hieraku Shunsui frowned slightly, and he could not understand this move. If it really has such outstanding attributes as Aizen said, then when this Kido is released, it will definitely make enemies. Because no one can resist such gravity. It's incredible. Is this the dimension where Aizen is after merging with Hogyoku? Tōshirō swallowed, not wanting to believe it, but had to accept the reality. Infinitely. Oh my, this is an advanced version of Black Coffin. I haven't seen it before. It starts with a sword, and Aizen's move Hado 90 Black Coffin, you shouldn't be able to release it, right? Yulu Ziliu's sharp voice sounded from Mol Chang Shuangyi's ears. Shut up, if there is Hogyoku, I can certainly release a similar Kido. Mol Chungshuang also glanced at Yulu Ziliu and said angrily. Zai Palace. Awesome, awesome, long live Lord Aizen. When Zamari saw this scene, he became excited and shouted, let those Shinigami see what a real Kido is. What a terrifying pressure. Aizen is probably the only one in the world who can release this level of Black Coffin. Grimmjow was also impressed by this move. Even Yamamoto Genryuzai may not be able to release it. Compared with the Black Coffin released by Mole City Shuang before, it was simply garbage. No wonder there was no way to trap Zaraki Kenpachi. Yami said. Zamari smiled. That kind of trash, you still want to compare with Aizen-sama. Urahara store. Oh my, this is really difficult. Urahara Kazuki fanned himself with a folding fan, a look of worry on his face. That kid Ichigo should be practicing in the world of separation, but facing Aizen in this form, he may not be an opponent. Combined with the previous video, Urahara Kazuki can basically analyze it. Aizen led the Arankar Legion to attack Karakura town. Logically speaking, the battle did not last long, and Kurosaki Ichigo also appeared on the battlefield. In a short period of time, my hair became so long, and my personality seemed to have changed. He must be practicing in the broken world. But he didn't expect that Ichigo would make such great progress. I can't even release this level of Black Coffin. Tessai Tsukubishi frowned tightly. As a former Kido leader, he was not confident that he could release such a large amount of Black Coffin. It was enough. Prove the horror of Aizen. Return to the video screen. As the coffin was completely closed, the sky returned to blue, and Kurosaki Ichigo was locked inside. Looking at the huge coffin, which was dozens of meters high, Aizen smiled. But the next second, boom, Kurosaki Ichigo raised his left arm casually, and one side of black coffin shattered like glass. Immediately afterwards, all black coffin turned into fragments and dissipated in midair. The act of splitting the coffin with one hand struck straight into Aizen's heart. His pupils shrank, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. How Kurosaki Ichigo can easily split a coffin with his bare hands. Not only Aizen in the picture, but Aizen outside the video also showed an expression of disbelief. Impossible, how could it be so easy? Aizen's whole face was twitching, which was obviously beyond his awareness. You know, this is no ordinary black coffin. Just like what he said in the previous video, you can break free from black coffin, but is it too exaggerated to break free from it so easily? He originally thought that this form of his was already the strongest among the three realms, but Kurosaki Ichigo's various performances showed that there was still a big gap between the two. Seraiti. I understand, no wonder Aizen was sealed. It turned out that Kurosaki Ichigo completely crushed him in terms of strength. Sui Feng nodded 2.3 times, seeming to think that this situation was the most reasonable. Otherwise, who can seal Hogyoku Aizen? Kashiwamura Sajin opened his dog eyes and said in surprise, in the face of absolute strength, even Hogyoku is useless. Oh my god, what kind of operation is this, Kurosaki Ichigo, can you crush Aizen in this form? Renji stared at Kurosaki Ichigo. It is also impossible to understand what Kurosaki Ichigo did to gain such powerful power. Isn't it just breaking the coffin with one hand? Is there anything surprising? Kurosaki Ichigo looked calm, as if all this was normal. Bang bang bang. Ishida Uryu immediately clapped his hands and applauded. You are so shameless, Kurosaki Ichigo, when it comes to showing off, no one can be your opponent. Kurosaki Ichigo grinned. Really, I don't take it seriously at all, catching a sword with bare hands and breaking a coffin with one hand. Chapter 172, No Moon. The final crescent moon clashes. Yuha was shocked and Yamamoto felt ashamed. Return to the video screen. After breaking the coffin with one hand, Kurosaki Ichigo was as calm as if nothing had happened. It seems that you haven't noticed yet. Compared to you now, my power is even better. Ichigo put down his arms and slowly walked towards Aizen. It was my sword that made that rock mountain fly away. Here I am, Aizen. Seeing Kurosaki Ichigo approaching like a god, Aizen's pupils shrank in shock. Immediately, Kurosaki Ichigo kicked his legs violently, the ground beneath his feet instantly cracked, and his body was ejected like a spring. In an instant, he came to Aizen, swung his knife and slashed directly at Aizen. A swish sound. Blood spurts out. Naturally, Aizen would not sit still and wait for death. He used teleportation again and moved to the broken mountain in the distance. He held his injured shoulder and looked very ugly. What a strange feeling. When I took the initiative to distance myself from you, you who asked me the reason actually took the initiative to distance myself this time. Kurosaki Ichigo stood there quietly. Is it my turn to ask you this time? Why did you distance yourself from me just now? This question made Aizen's heart tremble, and he held Zanpakuto tightly, his arms trembling. Is that so? Does it make you happy to block my sword? Does it make you so happy to crush my Kido? Aizen's expression turned ferocious. It seems that he doesn't want to see the current scene. At the same time, his body was also changing, the wound was boiling like foam, and his voice became more cruel. Does hurting my body make you so happy? Don't get too carried away, human. Uh-huh. Aizen roared angrily, and the third eye on his forehead actually opened. A white highlight appeared on the black pupils, and blood flowed from the corners of his eyes to the center of Aizen's eyebrows. Well, Aizen made an almost endless sound of struggling. The eyeballs rolled upwards, and the third eye was also moving crazily. The next moment, his head dropped, as if he had lost his life. Starting from the black pupil, his face was broken. What's going on? Is he dead? Kurosaki Ichigo outside the video frowned and looked at Aizen's appearance in the video, which really shocked him. This look is like dying directly. It shouldn't be. You will definitely not die if you die. It may be that evolution has failed. Renji analyzed it very seriously. Aizen will appear in the future, so it is impossible for him to die at this stage. Only the failure of evolution is more reasonable. Yes, Kurosaki-san, Aizen is already in the fourth form. We can't keep evolving. Inoue Orihime also said. Take this opportunity to seal him quickly. Ishida Uryu seemed to have seen Aizen's ending. Kurosaki Ichigo grinned and waved his hand. I don't have the sealing technique, so I can only wait for Manager Urahara. Yes, you can't. Renji showed a mocking look, finally finding something that Kurosaki Ichigo is not good at. Kurosaki Ichigo disagreed. So what about moves that can't be sealed? It's not the same to suppress him with hard power. Zai Palace. How is it possible that Lord Aizen has failed to evolve? Zamari looked horrified, completely unable to accept this result. You know, Aizen is perfectly integrated with Hogyoku. Even though he has evolved in the video, as long as he is in danger, Hogyoku will enter the state of protecting the host, making Aizen stronger, right? It seems that Hogyoku's power has limits and is not infinite. Harabel showed a very subtle expression, turned to look at Zamari and said, since he cannot continue to evolve, Aizen will not be able to fight. Kurosaki Ichigo will win easily. Zamari immediately retorted. Never mind, Aizen-sama will definitely win against Kurosaki Ichigo. On the throne, Aizen frowned tightly, he had never experienced these things. I don't know what my fate will be next. But from the results, it seems that it is not so satisfactory. Do I really have to stop here, Kurosaki Ichigo? Aizen is reluctant, but he also knows that Hogyoku's power will never reach this point. The video continues to play. Aizen looked dead, and his eyes suddenly started to move again. The black pupils on the forehead have also regained their highlights. Boom! A shocking power burst out from Aizen's body in an instant. It's like breaking the shackles and flowing out. The purple Reiatsu beam of light soared into the sky. This sign also means that Aizen did not fail to evolve. All the actions just now were just paving the way for evolution. Ah! Aizen roared heartbreakingly. His back suddenly burst open, brand new wings appeared from it, his face turned black, and the previous facial skin was torn from the middle and located on both sides of the black face, and 3 holes appeared in his chest, Hogyoku in the top hole, there is a skull growing out of each branch. At this time, Aizen has completely broken away from the category of Shinigami and looks more like a hollow. The evolution was successful. Tōshirō outside the video couldn't believe what he saw with his eyes. Not only did Aizen evolve successfully, but he also looked even scarier than before. There is no doubt that its capabilities will definitely double. Looking like this, Aizen is really hopelessly corrupted. Kashiwamura Sajin's eyes were fierce, unable to understand what Aizen was doing. Is it really because of the pursuit of power that one is willing to become such a nondescript figure? I thought Aizen failed to evolve, but he turned into a butterfly from a cocoon. Hiraku Shunsui shook his head, looking slightly sad. The skin breaks down because it needs to shed its shell and face a new look. And the evolved Aizen Sosuke is far more evil than any other form of him. Kurosaki Ichigo's power just crushed Aizen, but after evolving, is he still a match? Rangaku's beautiful eyes flashed with curiosity, and Aizen should be in his final form. Well, if it can evolve again, it really won't make sense. Tu Shilang also nodded. This world, why did you evolve again? Kurosaki-san. Inoue Orihime looked at Kurosaki Ichigo worriedly. Aizen is constantly evolving, and although Kurosaki Ichigo has not shown his full strength, standing still is definitely not an option. Aizen is so terrible, he has become completely hollow. After this guy dies, he will definitely fall into hell. Kurosaki Ichigo frowned slightly, but was not worried at all. He believed that by becoming so calm and composed, he had the power to compete with Hogyoku Aizen. No matter what the other party has become, it won't be a problem. The premise is that you can kill him, but he is already immortal. Ishida Uryu said while holding his glasses. Kurosaki Ichigo shook his head. Even if he is immortal, I will make him invincible. Invisible Empire. Yuhabach watched Aizen and Kurosaki Ichigo in the video with interest. He was a little surprised and a little surprised. Both of these people are what he calls special combat power guys. I didn't expect the fight to be so exciting. He is even a little worried that if Aizen continues to evolve, will his power surpass his own? Kurosaki Ichigo, my son, can your potential surpass Aizen's power? Return to the video screen. Aizen's feet were covered in blood, as if he had been baptized. So, you still can't forgive me, Hogyoku. When Aizen spoke, he opened and closed his upper and lower jaws, revealing his ferocious face and fangs, which was terrifying. I'm actually lagging behind a mere human being. As he spoke, a skull on the wing joints opened its mouth, released a purple energy ball, and quickly shot towards Kurosaki Ichigo. Boom! Violent shaking occurred instantly. Within a radius of 10 miles, the mountains collapsed and the ground collapsed, as if it was a natural disaster, swallowing up the entire earth. Just the aftermath affected people as far away as Karakura town. Nani, this power. Outside the video, the first team is in the team building. Yamamoto Genryuzai held his crutches and looked at the scene in the video with a calm gaze. His face was very calm, but his heart was surging like a wave. Can an attack from just a skeleton on its wings cause such a large amount of damage? This level is completely comparable to my own Hado 96 sword cremation. Captain, Aizen's strength has increased at least 10 times when he looks like this. Shojiro Sasaki stared at Yamamoto Genryuzai, and his voice sounded a little hollow. He knows that the change in strength is definitely more than 10 times. You must know that the attack just now only caused the mountain to collapse, but now, the entire periphery of the city is about to be destroyed. This is Aizen's ultimate power, and it may not be his opponent. Yamamoto Genryuzai was not kidding. He even felt that Aizen at this time could compete with the resurrected Yuhabach. But I am no longer a match for the two. Shojiro Sasaki saw Yamamoto Genryuzai's unconfident look and fell silent. The commander-in-chief doesn't joke. Aizen may really be on top of heaven and earth. The explosion sent a pillar of fire into the sky and lasted for a long time. Aizen walked forward, staring at the figure of Kurosaki Ichigo in the flames. After seeing it clearly, I realized that Kurosaki Ichigo did not die. I see, the attack just now only caused this level of damage. Aizen stared at Kurosaki Ichigo's burned left arm that was used to defend against the attack, and continued, but you can no longer use your left hand. He flapped his wings and flew towards Kurosaki Ichigo like a moth. The injured Kurosaki Ichigo was completely unable to resist. Aizen easily grabbed his neck with his arms. He opened several eyes on his wings and surrounded Kurosaki Ichigo. The ultimate radiation burst. Then all the skeletons on the wing spines released Reiatsu together, forming a four-circle ring-shaped entity Reiatsu, but Aizen did not detonate it. Did you hear that, Kurosaki Ichigo? You did temporarily destroy the realm of Shinigami and Hollow and became a transcendent, but now you have lost that power. It is terrible to see. Today you are not even worthy enough for me to understand you deeply. Aizen's voice became very magnetic. You are about to be sent to hell by me as a transcendent. After I wipe you out, you can say goodbye to earth-shattering existences like Shinigami and Hollow. Something's over, Kurosaki Ichigo. You said everything is over. Kurosaki Ichigo's voice suddenly rang, surprising Aizen. He raised his head and looked directly at Aizen, his calm face full of contempt. Is this all you have? This is impossible, absolutely impossible. Aizen slapped the handle of the chair with both hands and stood up with a swish. Frustrated expectations, surprise, unwillingness, fear, all kinds of emotions inside him. His heart arose, making him gradually irritable. Kurosaki Ichigo, you are just an ordinary human being. I admit that your power is not limited to humans, but it is absolutely impossible to surpass me who is close to a god. The ferocious face shrank a bit. Aizen had never experienced this feeling before. He quickly calmed down and said, no, he was just being tough. My old swan, this is really a battle that transcends all of our dimensions. Omaida's eyes almost popped out. Aizen's blow, Kurosaki Ichigo only injured his arm. Damn, I really can't imagine what the result will be if both of them use their full strength. Soul Society may be destroyed. Shu Bing frowned tightly. He expected the battle to be fierce, but he never imagined it would reach this point. It's not just Soul Society. Aizen almost destroyed Karakura town with just one shot. This ultimate radiation blast must be so lethal. Hiroku Shunsui refused to accept it. I'm afraid no one else can realize Reiatsu. 573 Aizen didn't hit this attack. Kurosaki Ichigo couldn't avoid the attack from this distance. I think he was just being tough. Hinamori Momo looked worried, not because she didn't believe Kurosaki Ichigo, but because she believed in Aizen too much. No, Rukia directly denied. I know Ichigo, if he can say that, he must be sure. The video continues to play. Kurosaki Ichigo raised his hand and struck a sword. The black sword light hit Aizen and knocked him away, causing a violent shock. The two of them stood in the air, and the ground below them was already a bottomless pit with a diameter of 100 meters. Forget it, Aizen, I'm tired of hearing your lies. Kurosaki Ichigo put down Zanpakuto, raised his arm again, and pointed the blade at Aizen. This is the last Crescent Moon Celestial Confrontation. Boom. The unparalleled Reiatsu soared into the sky, the black flames wrapped around the blue Reiatsu, and within it was Kurosaki Ichigo, completely transformed. The whole body is wrapped in bandages, extending to the chin, and underneath is a skirt burning with black flames. The long black hair covers his eyes, flowing thickly like a lion. Just because of the spread of Reiatsu, Aizen was as cold as a rock. The so-called final Getsuga Tensho means that I become Getsuga myself. Kurosaki Ichigo stared at Aizen. The last Getsuga Tensho, if I use this trick, I will lose all the power of Shinigami. That's what I mean by the end. In this world, the Kurosaki family. Dad, my brother looks really handsome like this. Kurosaki Yuzu was very excited. He had never seen such a cold look on Kurosaki Ichigo. Yuzu, not only Ichigo, your father and I can also become like this. Kurosaki Ishin scratched his head and said with a naive smile. Although he looks careless on the outside, he is actually happy that Ichigo can transform into Muzuki. Real or false, I don't believe it. Sha Li grinned, 10 hearts. Of course it's true. Don't you distrust me, your father. I definitely don't believe it. Seraiti. Evolved. Kurosaki Ichigo has evolved. Madarame Makaku roared excitedly, even more excited than he had evolved. This is so handsome. Rangaku's eyes stared straight at Kurosaki Ichigo in this form, and he swallowed a few mouthfuls unconsciously. Even the color of his hair has changed, and he still exudes a black aura. At this moment, Ichigo seems to have become evil. Rukia frowned, but from now on. I don't feel evil at all in Ichigo, but justice. The last tense Zangetsu is to turn yourself into a crescent moon. In other words, Ichigo cannot maintain this form forever. Just as Tōshirō sighed, after using it. After that, he will lose all Shinigami's power, which requires much determination. Quote. Luckily Ichigo still has the power of a Quincy. Shuhei admired Ichigo's approach very much, sacrificing himself to save others. Chapter 172, 96 Beijing fire frames are sealed and destroyed, and 99 bans are banned. Invisible Empire. What's going on? Kurosaki Ichigo turned out to be like this. Did he also receive the blessing of some kind of power? A senate said in surprise. Didn't you listen to what he said? He turned himself into a crescent moon. That's probably what he meant. Masuko scratched his head. Although he said so, he didn't understand why Kurosaki Ichigo changed like this. Is this power capable of crushing Aizen in this form? Lloyd's eyes widened. If it is His Majesty, he should be able to stand above both of them. Lloyd believed in Yuhabach's power very much. Even though both of the two people in the video showed extra-dimensional power, he still supported Yuhabach. That's natural. Your Majesty is the strongest person in the world. Even if Aizen and Kurosaki Ichigo join forces, they are no match for His Majesty. Kuruji said excitedly. On the throne, Yuhabach looked at Kurosaki Ichigo and frowned slightly. Kurosaki Ichigo, after using this attack, you will lose all Shinigami's power. At that time, you will be my real son. Return to the video screen. Aizen stared at Kurosaki Ichigo in front of him with white eyes, very shocked. I can't feel anything anymore. Just like I evolved into a different dimension from Shinigami, just like the second dimension cannot interfere with the existence of the third dimension, unless I consciously lower my level so that it can interfere. Otherwise neither Shinigami nor humans can feel my Reiatsu like that. He was a little panicked. Could it be that Kurosaki Ichigo's current level has surpassed him? Could it be that that guy has evolved to a higher dimension than me? Aizen gritted his teeth and roared angrily at Kurosaki Ichigo. How is it possible? How could such a thing happen? How could a mere human being surpass me? Such a thing. However, at this time, Kurosaki Ichigo slowly raised his arm, and black flames formed a spear in his hand. No moon. The black slash fell from the middle of Aizen's body like a severed waterfall. Card. The bandage on Kurosaki Ichigo's body tore open, revealing some tattoos. As for Aizen, who was cut in the middle in the distance, his wound healed quickly after he fell to the ground. Are you going to regenerate? Kurosaki Ichigo was a little surprised. Teleport to Aizen's side. Aizen stood up with difficulty. At the same time, Kurosaki Ichigo's strength gradually disappeared and he returned to his original appearance, falling to his knees in exhaustion. Oops, Shinigami's power is gradually disappearing. Kurosaki Ichigo's current situation is very unfavorable. At this time, half of Aizen is in his final form and half is in his fourth form. He looks like a monster. But the black mask has disappeared. What's going on? You're not dead yet. Kurosaki Ichigo outside the video felt incredible. This was his strongest blow. After using this trick, you will really be at your wit's end. Turns out Aizen hasn't been killed yet. Immortal is really Hogyoku. Renji frowned, a hint of worry flashing in his eyes. Now that Kurosaki-san has lost his power, what should we do next? Inoue Orihime dragged his chin with his hands, very worried. Kurosaki Ichigo remained silent, he didn't know what to do next. Seraiti. Damn it, Kurosaki Ichigo's blow just now can kill everyone, but it can't kill Aizen. Kashiwamura Sajin grinned, unable to understand why Aizen would not be killed. Is he really invincible? Isn't Captain Yamamoto still there? Although I don't know what the captain was doing before, he can definitely deal with Aizen. Sui Feng said with a frown, besides, the current Aizen has been damaged by Kurosaki Ichigo's attack. Taking this time to seal it is the best choice. Captain Sui Feng, the fact that the captain has not appeared until now means that he will not appear again. I don't know what caused the captain to not fight Aizen, but let's not think about things too well, okay? Kurotsuchi Mayuri he said while glaring at Sui Feng. What Captain Nirvana said makes sense. Hiroku Shunsui sighed and frowned. Has the situation really reached an irreversible point? Return to the video screen. You lose, Kurosaki Ichigo. Aizen raised the broken sword in his hand. Look, Zanpakuto is gradually disappearing. You should be able to understand the significance of this, right? This represents Hogyoku's judgment that I no longer need Zanpakuto, just like you who have become one with Zanpakuto. No, now I have risen to a new level compared to you who have lost my power. It's over, Kurosaki Ichigo. Aizen roared like a wild beast. But suddenly, Nitong's red spear pierced through his chest. Then several more red lights came, making Aizen a little confused. What is this, Kido? When did you become so sensible? It was difficult for him to understand. It seems it's finally started. Urahara Kazuki's voice came from afar. Then Kazuki appeared in front of the two. Urahara Kazuki, was this something you did? Yes. That Kido was injected into you through another Kido when I was at your most relaxed before you fully evolved. Urahara Kazuki explains. Urahara store. You have something, you actually saved it. The schoolmaster seemed to reply, but looked at Urahara Kazuki with disdain. Oh, Miss Yoruichi, of course you have to use some small tricks to deal with an opponent like Aizen. Urahara Kazuki spread his hands. The store manager is so awesome. I guess Aizen is restricted by Kido even without any consciousness. Xiao Yu praised. Seraiti. Urahara Kazuki. I didn't expect that Cage Aizen's was actually Urahara Kazuki. How disgusting. Kurotsuchi Mayuri showed a very unhappy expression, obviously unable to accept this fact. But when I think about it, except Urahara Kazuki, no one else can do it. 91 of Hado, Senju Kaden Taipao. Tōshirō was shocked, it was Urahara Kazuki's manipulation when using this Kido. He recalled that when Urahara Kazuki's Kido hit Aizen's body, in addition to the self-created move that hit White Thunder hard, the Senju Kyuden Taipao penetrated Aizen's body. This time is the best opportunity to do something. Jashiro nodded. As expected of Urahara Kazuki, he has so many tricks that it's hard to understand. We didn't notice anything, but he has already captured clues about Aizen. The throne of Zai Palace. Urahara Kazuki, you guy, you are an idiot. Aizen's face looked a little ugly, but he didn't expect that he would be tricked by Urahara Kazuki. But Kido at this level cannot seal himself. The video screen continues to play. Urahara Kazuki looked at Aizen and said quietly, that move is a seal. When you have merged with Hogyoku, I considered that it is almost impossible to kill you, so in order to seal you, I developed a new Kido. Really, that's a pity. After Aizen was stunned for a short time, he returned to his previous demeanor and raised his broken sword. Look, I am about to evolve to the next new realm. With your level of Kido, trying to seal me is simply a fool's dream. He raised his arms suddenly, but the white robe on his arms and Zanpakuto were instantly shattered. Now he panicked, his pupils shrank suddenly and he looked at the exposed arm, what's going on? At the same time, other parts are gradually degenerating. That's Hogyoku's will. The seal that was injected into your body at that time was activated now because your power is weakened now. Urahara Kazuki looked at Kurosaki Ichigo, thanks to Kurosaki, because you fought with him and forced you only at this point can it be launched. Quote. He turned back to stare at Aizen, I mean Hogyoku no longer recognizes you as the master. How is it possible? Aizen looked horrified and didn't want to believe it, how could such a thing happen? It's impossible. The red light on his body instantly turned into a sword-like cone of light that penetrated his body, and a seal slowly appeared below. Urahara Kazuki, I despise you. You have such a mind, why don't you act, why do you surrender to that kind of thing? Aizen was angry and taunted Urahara Kazuki feebly. That thing, are you talking about the Soul King? Urahara Kazuki closed his eyes slightly, so, you can see it. If the Soul King disappears, Soul Society will be torn apart. The Soul King is a wedge. Once the wedge is lost, everything will be broken. It will collapse easily. This is what the world is called. The Soul King is just a wedge. Doesn't he have the consciousness of existence? Tōshirō outside the video twitched the corner of his mouth, feeling very surprised. If the Soul King has no consciousness and only exists to stabilize the three realms, then who will provide some guidance to Soul Society? Captain Hitsugaya, Wedge is not necessarily unconscious. We saw the appearance of the Soul King before. That appearance was indeed sealed, but we are not sure whether he is conscious or not. Omeda said. After all, his brain is still there, so even if he can communicate, he will only be able to communicate with Shinigami from Division 0. That's just one-sided words from Urahara Kazuki. He has not entered the Soul King Palace before, and he doesn't know where he saw this information. You don't really believe it. Kurotsuchi Mayuri curled her lips, Tianfan was dissatisfied. Said. Why should you believe Urahara Kazuki's words unconditionally? We are just curious, Captain Nirvana. Kashiwamura Sajin took over, but it doesn't prove that the Soul King is conscious, right? Kurotsuchi Mayuri glared at Kashiwamura Sajin. Yes, it's you, Captain Komamura, who eats me inside and out. Asterisk. In the video, the sealing leather strip gradually wraps around Aizen's body, and he yells, this is totally a loser's theory. His hand broke free from the leather strap and tore the seal with force. The winner will never talk lightly about what kind of existence the world is, but will emphasize what kind of existence the world should be. Before Aizen, who was on the verge of madness, could finish his words, he was extinguished by the 9-6 Kyo fire frame, covering his entire body, leaving only 3 crossed sword vertebra-shaped seals in the air. Is this the Kido sealing technique created by Urahara Kazuki? Tōshirō outside the video opened his eyes wide, having never seen this kind of Kido before. Well, I have never seen this type of Kido, but being able to seal Aizen in it is definitely a very powerful Kido. Rangaku nodded. At the very least, it is a level that only a Bakudo of size 90 or above can achieve. Moreover, this is the Kido that Urahara Kazuki specifically uses to fight against Aizen, and it is also stronger than other Kido in terms of strength. When Aizen showed up later, wasn't he sealed by Bakudo's 99, ban, and ban? Maybe that was also Urahara Kazuki's Kido. Kashiwamura Sajin said. Swastika ban, it is mainly divided into 3 stages. The first song is Zbang, which uses huge strips of cloth to wrap the opponent's body to stop his movement. The second song is 100 Chains, which uses dozens of iron spikes to penetrate the other side, fixing it completely. The finale is Swastika Taifeng, a huge stone tablet with swastikas falling from the sky, Zhao Li Zhao crushing the opponent. Hieraku Shunsui nodded and explained the efficacy of Bakudo 99. Because no one in Seraiti can use this move except the current Captain Kido. Moreover, Aizen's state should only use the first 2 stages of sealing. Jashiro agreed, Urahara Kazuki might be able to use this Bakudo. Since Kido can uniquely seal Aizen, Urahara Kazuki, the most advanced Bakudo, will definitely use it too. Zai Palace. It's really this Urahara Kazuki who used such despicable means to seal Master Aizen. He really deserves death. Zamari glared at him, really wanting to kill Urahara Kazuki. The means and brains are really incredible. No wonder Aizen was defeated by him. Baragan was in a very happy mood. Although Aizen was not dead, it was a good thing to be sealed. Doesn't this guy Urahara Kazuki have no Bankai? Grimmjow was very surprised. In the battle with Aizen just now, Urahara Kazuki did not use Bankai. But on the attribute panel, it says that he has the ability of Bankai. Second is the means. Why didn't Bankai be used against Aizen? I don't know, maybe he knows that even if he uses Bankai, he is still no match for Master Aizen. Yami analyzed. On the throne. Damn it, Urahara Kazuki. Aizen complained again, but at this moment, he no longer hated it as much as he did at the beginning. Because in the video, he learned that he might be able to use Hogyoku's power to evolve into a more advanced form. It was just stopped by Urahara Kazuki. If he hadn't been plotted against him, he would definitely be able to stand in the sky and look down on everyone. Chapter 173, Bankai Kanonbaraki Benihime Aratame, The Final Resort. Open black lens bracket Urahara Kisukev's Aizen Sosuke, wins, close black lens bracket. At this time, Urahara Kazuki's record appeared on the big screen. Urahara store. Ho ho ho, this is finally a victory. Urahara Kazuki covered his mouth with a folding fan and laughed happily. Although you defeated Aizen, most of the credit goes to Kurosaki Ichigo. Yoruichi glanced at Urahara Kazuki. Without the restraint of Kurosaki Ichigo, Urahara Kazuki would have no chance to attack Aizen. Not to mention sealing it. Ms. Yoruichi, it's true that Kurosaki deserves credit, but I'm also very important, okay? Urahara Kazuki nuzzled towards Shihuin Yoruichi's side as if he was being cute. Don't pretend like this, or you'll get punched. Yoruichi clenched his fist and placed it in front of Urahara Kazuki. Urahara Kazuki's mouth twitched. A gentleman talks but doesn't use his hands. What the hell, is this called defeating Master Aizen? This is just a dirty trick. Zamari was very unhappy. It was obvious that the two of them had joined forces, and one of them was even the sixth, and they reluctantly sealed Aizen. Otherwise, Kurosaki Ichigo would have died long ago after losing his power. In other words, if Urahara Kazuki and Aizen were to fight in a one-on-one fight, they would definitely not be able to pass a few moves and they would be instantly killed. Zamari, Aizen's failure is a foregone conclusion. No matter how you quibble, it's useless. No matter what method is used, knowing that the final result is that Aizen is sealed, that is, Urahara Kazuki wins. Why? Baragan glared at Zamari and could only say that Urahara Kazuki's methods were superb. However, at this time, the video screen changed. On the battlefield of the real-world city. Shihuin Yoruichi has just used the Shunku Thunder Beast battle form Shunlong Black Cat Warrior and finished fighting Yasuke. Because the 5-minute immune medicine Urahara Kazuki injected into her expired, her body could not bear it and she fell asleep on the ground. Thank you, Miss Yoruichi. Next, you can slowly remove the poison. I'll look for the body to see if I need to give him a fatal blow. Urahara Kazuki left Yoruichi's side and headed towards the place where Yasuke was defeated. Go. Seraiti. It's the battle at the Soul King's palace. Sui Feng frowned tightly, because when she took stock of Yoruichi before, the playback ended directly here. She wanted to know Yoruichi's subsequent situation. Now I finally have the chance to see Yoruichi's ending. Yoruichi did have some advantages at the beginning, but Yasuke was not that easy to deal with. Whether he could be defeated with that blow is open to question. Kashiwamura Sajin did not believe that Yasuke would be killed. Because judging from the 243 ranking of combat effectiveness, Yoruichi is ranked relatively low, and Yasuke has not been counted yet, so he is likely to be a Quincy in the top 10. Killing someone ranked in the top 10 by someone ranked in the 30s is simply a fantasy. What Captain Komamura said makes sense. Now that the scene has been replayed, Yoruichi has lost the ability to fight, which means Urahara Kazuki is going to fight. Shuhei was surprised. The battle between Urahara Kazuki and Aizen did not directly show his fighting level. Instead, they set traps in Kido, mostly using Kido to attack. If it weren't for the fact that Urahara Kazuki's ability, Bankai, appeared on the attribute panel, he really didn't know that Urahara Kazuki mastered Bankai. Urahara Kazuki's Bankai. A cold smile appeared on Kurotsuchi Mayuri's lips, and a sinister voice followed. This is the first time I've seen it, I'm really looking forward to it. Invisible Empire. It's that cat again, it's so disgusting. Yasuke was furious when he saw Yoruichi again. And that Urahara Kazuki, Shihuin Yoruichi's battles are basically ordered by him. I will definitely kill you. Gerald chuckled. Asuke, you have to know that is the guy who defeated Hogyoku Aizen. It is not an easy task for you to defeat him. Based on the IQ and execution ability shown by Urahara Kazuki in dealing with Aizen just now, Gerard felt a little scared. What are you afraid of? Kido is of no use to me. Yasuke disagreed. His own abilities seemed more terrifying than Aizen's, right? Although he is not as good as Aizen in terms of hard power, the specificity of his abilities is higher than Aizen. I hope so. Don't let me see you being killed by Urahara Kazuki. Rijibaro looked at Yasuke with a solemn expression. Counting himself, Panita, and Gerard, 3 of the 4 guards except Hasward have already suffered defeat. If Yaskin is defeated again, the whole army will be completely wiped out. At this moment, the video continues to play. Just when Urahara Kazuki was going to check on Yaskin's condition, a huge thunderball like a meteorite suddenly appeared in the sky. What is this? Urahara Kazuki panicked, sweating profusely. Is it Yaskin's move? The ultimate poison ball, the biggest poison ball I have ever made. Yaskin's voice suddenly came, which also indicated that he was not dead. Oh, maybe it's not that you care about, but my appearance. At this time, Yaskin was already in the form of a perfect saint, with a large number of complex molecular structures appearing all over his body. A star-cross halo of molecular structure appeared on the top of his head, BEBC, and the crotchless pants and boots on his lower body were covered with braids. Even the wings are a double wing structure of light wheels connected by overlapping molecules. He pointed at himself. This is called God's Poison View. It's a very unoriginal name, right? Reiatsu changes 48 times in 1 second, which is really powerful. In other words, it has to withstand a total of 48 types of attacks in 1 second. Simply put, if you become a perfect saint, you can withstand all attacks and complete all 48 types of infections within 1 second. Yaskin explained unhurriedly. Is that the form of Yaskin's holy body? It's different from other people's holy body. Tōshirō outside the video stared closely at Yaskin, which is indeed in line with the characteristics of his abilities. Doesn't this mean that Yoruichi's previous attack did no harm to him at all? Kashiwamura Sajin felt regretful. How should we deal with this kind of perfect holy body ability? I didn't expect that Aizen could handle it. Facing a Quincy, Urahara Kazuki had no choice. Kurotsuchi Mayuri said with a hint of sarcasm in her tone. Hiroku Shunsui looked at Kurotsuchi Mayuri and said kindly, Captain Nirvana, is it too early to say that Urahara Kazuki has no way to fight Yaskin? Isn't Shihu and Yoruichi representing something? I don't believe that guy has more powerful means than this. Kurotsuchi Mayuri folded his arms and showed a look of watching the fun. Return to the video screen. Listening to Yaskin's explanation, Urahara Kazuki was shocked. Yaskin Bing was not in a hurry and continued. The rest is that it will take a certain amount of time to analyze and obtain immunity. He looked at Urahara Kazuki and pointed his finger at Yoruichi. Oh. Maybe you have other ways to make her Reiatsu produce greater changes, but it's useless. In order not to let you waste time, out of good intentions, I will tell you the performance of the Holy Eucharist. Yaskin is very confident. My perfect holy body, the poison view of God, can adapt to the qualitative changes of toxins. No matter what changes occur on the surface of toxins, as long as the basis is the same, the cotton clothes can be changed and neutralized instantly. Quote. Although he spoke in general terms, he knew that Urahara Kazuki had understood. In other words, no matter what changes you make that guy change from now on, you can't hurt me at all. Yaskin's eyes were filled with pride and sarcasm. Then, Urahara Kazuki, what are you going to do? Yaskin, is there something wrong with your brain? You have the ability to self-destruct again. Are you getting impatient? Lee Jae-Luo outside the video was speechless to Yaskin. Forgetting the ability to self-destruct in the beginning, the ability of the perfect holy body was also revealed. Isn't this providing information to the other party? During the battle, Lightbaro and Gerard both talked about their abilities, but both ended up being defeated. Moreover, Yaskin's opponent this time is Urahara Kazuki. If he reveals his abilities, he is simply asking for his own death. What's the big deal? I've already told you that I'm immune to any harm now. If that guy knows about it, what can he do? Yaskin said lightly. On the surface, I am very calm, but in my heart I am very regretful. But I have already pretended to be out, so there is no way I can take it back. Bambietta spread her hands and said, I wish you good luck. Return to the video screen. Yaskin opened his arms, and the molecular spirit made him look very mysterious. Could it be that I just cracked your countermeasures and there is nothing you can do? Suddenly, the entire area was shrouded in poison balls. Facing the special combat power, he had to be more cautious. Facing the dense crowd of poisonous elements, Urahara Kazuki was shocked. Don't be so surprised, this is just in case. Yaskin sneered. He cuts the field. I don't like to say unpleasant things. People who like to talk like that feel very uncomfortable, don't they? I want to be an elegant and calm person. Yaskin glanced at Urahara Kazuki casually. Let me tell you, it is absolutely impossible to escape from this poisonous field. Urahara Kazuki chuckled. You don't want us to go out that much. Of course, what are you confirming? There is a hostile relationship between you and me. No, it may be inappropriate for me to say this, but I don't see that you took all these actions out of loyalty. Urahara Kazuki has been observing Yaskin, and he can tell that Yaskin is not that kind of person. Yaskin did not deny it, but said, what you said is really rude. When it comes to loyalty, I think it is countless times stronger than a Pomeranian, but it is too conspicuous. This is true. Indeed, this is not me. The whole reason for taking action, I am very interested in comparing it. When I say that I'm showing off to His Majesty, does that give people a condescending feeling? Of course I don't mean that. In this world, Hueco Mundo, Soul Society, after destroying these 3 worlds, what will he create? There is no one else who can do such a thing except His Majesty. If he misses Yuhabach at this time, he will never be able to find the second person. Urahara Kazuki, you are considered a wise man, and you also have the mind to look at the whole world. Don't you think so? He wanted to brainwash Urahara Kazuki. Don't you want to see what His Majesty will create after destroying these 3 worlds? Saraiti. Yuhabach really thinks of himself as the creator, doesn't he? Even his men are so crazy. Kashiwamura Sajin was immediately angry. Creating a new world means that the old world will be destroyed. Don't people in the old world have the right to live? This guy is brainwashing Urahara Kazuki, but according to Urahara Kazuki's wisdom, he will never lose himself so easily. Toshirō said with a slight frown. He was not worried that Urahara Kazuki would be interested in such ridiculous things, but felt that at this moment, Urahara Kazuki should be thinking of countermeasures. Yes, there is not only Yuhabach who wants to create a whole new world. People. Shu Bing was filled with indignation. Aizen's failure shows Urahara Kazuki's position. Facing the chattering Yasuke, Urahara Kazuki didn't say anything and directly slashed at him with his Zanpakuto. Upon seeing this, Yasuke quickly retreated and showed a very surprised look. Can you still move at such an amazing speed? In this poisonous field, can you still move with such agility? It's really not simple. Quote, I'm not interested. Urahara Kazuki stated his position. Is this your answer? It's such a pity. Yasuke sighed, feeling a little disappointed. Urahara Kazuki is one of the rare wise people for him. It's such a pity. I am also very sure that your thoughts will be the same as mine. If it's Captain Nirvana, he might say he wants to see new things. Urahara Kazuki said. Okay, Urahara Kazuki, are you smearing me? Kurotsuchi Mayuri outside the video suddenly became angry. Why did she put the blame on herself? So many people are watching. Ha ha ha, you are worthy of being an enemy. Toshirō smiled faintly. It was really not surprising that Urahara Kazuki could say such a thing. Don't let me catch you, Urahara Kazuki. Otherwise you won't get a good harvest. Kurotsuchi Mayuri's eyes were hard, but he did agree with what Urahara Kazuki said. It's really boring to be stuck in this conventional world. It might be a good choice to see a brand new world. Return to the video screen. Kurotsuchi Mayuri. Yasuke knows the information about Kurotsuchi Mayuri. But even he may not be interested in what Yuhabach created. He is a scientist who uses his own hands to create things that no one has ever seen. Although Urahara Kazuki stepped on Kurotsuchi Mayuri, he praised him without any concealment afterwards. Hearing this, Yasuke sneered, I see, I don't hate this answer, but even so, I still want to see what your majesty will create in the future. Poison ring. He adjusted the bracelet, holding one hand upward to expand the ring's size, and then tossed at Urahara Kazuki. Although the ring was large, in Urahara Kazuki's eyes, the ring seemed to shrink during the flight and disappeared. But the next second, the ring shrunk to the size of a ring pierced Urahara Kazuki's left eye. Ah, Urahara Kazuki lost an eye instantly. The poison ring is a very powerful move. It is generally only used on guys who have no effect on the lethal amount. In terms of effect, the ability to concentrate the lethal amount is concentrated on one point. It will definitely pierce a certain part of the enemy and kill him instantly. It's all because you are too powerful. Even reducing the lethality cannot kill you. All means are useless against you. As a result, the only way is to destroy your internal organs and kill you. There's a way to go. Have you been told to use this move, Yasuke? Gerard outside the video smiled slightly. Urahara Kazuki is really difficult to deal with, but after this move hits, I'm afraid he will die no matter how powerful he is. Urahara Kazuki doesn't have the same regenerative abilities as Aizen. If you are hit by the poisonous ring, you will definitely die. I didn't expect that Urahara Kazuki would be defeated in your hands, Yasuke. Bambietta smiled slightly, but your lethality is not even available to Urahara Kazuki. You can do it. At this point, he is already very strong. Quote. Yasuke smiled very briskly. His failure is an inevitable result. This world. Mr. Urajin, are you going to die? Kurosaki Ichigo swallowed, finding it difficult to accept this situation. Kurosaki-san, it seems that store manager Urahara really has no choice. We can only pray for him. Inoue Orihime is very worried about Kurosaki Ichigo's condition. Sato stared at Ichigo and said in a loud voice, Ichigo, that's Mr. Urahara, he won't be defeated so easily. Ichigo was stunned for a moment. Well, I should believe Mr. Urahara. Sure enough, in the video screen, Urahara Kazuki, who was hit by the poisonous ring, fell to his knees, but was not killed. No solution anymore. Bankai, Guanyin Kai Hongji. Chapter 174, Lu is not dead. The Leopard King teamed up with Kazuki to deliver a fatal blow. Bankai, Kanonbaraki Benihime Aratame. Suddenly, behind Urahara Kazuki, a huge woman with long hair in a classical bun, wearing a sleeveless kimono, and with limbs and joints like a puppet appeared. The woman embodied by Bankai looks like a puppet, but only the joints are similar. Overall, she is a classical woman. To Urahara Kazuki, Bankai is nothing, but to everyone outside the video, it is simply a spectacle. Especially the Shinigami. Is that Urahara Kazuki's Bankai? I didn't expect that a woman would materialize. It's incredible. Tōshirō opened his eyes wide and couldn't believe that such a large woman really existed. You must know that Kyoraku Shunsui's Bankai is just an illusion of a woman who appears behind her, but Urahara Kazuki actually turns it into reality. Of course, Tōshirō still doesn't know Urahara Kazuki Bankai's ability, so he can't be sure which one is stronger than Kyoraku Shunsui's Bankai. It's so shocking. I didn't expect Urahara Kazuki's Bankai to be like this. Kashiwamura Sajin was extremely surprised because Kanenbaraki Benihime Aratame was in human form, similar to his Black Rope Tenshin King, but in comparison, the woman Urahara Kazuki appeared was even weirder. And it seems that it doesn't have any combat power, maybe it has some kind of special ability. It was quite interesting to see Urahara Kazuki's Bankai for the first time. A sinister smile appeared on Kurotsuchi Mayuri's face, but he also knew that Urahara Kazuki's Bankai was not self-awakening, but was completed through the transformation of the divine body. This clockwork-like woman is a humanoid instrument. But the principle behind it is something Kurotsuchi Mayuri still cannot understand. As expected of Urahara Kazuki, the corners of Kyoraku Shunsui's mouth under the bamboo hat slightly raised, based on his understanding of Urahara Kazuki. The delay in releasing Bankai means that he has no means to deal with Yasuke. Bankai will be his last resort. At this moment, Urahara Kazuki can still remain so calm, which shows that he is sure of victory. Urahara store. Oh, really, I have to let people use Bankai. That guy Yasuke is really annoying. Urahara Kazuki fanned and shook his head. Who let you get infected by Yasuke's poisonous bracelet? If you don't need Bankai to repair it, I'm afraid you have to tell me where it is. Yoruichi glanced at Urahara Kazuki, with a slightly worried look on his face. Seeing this, Kazuki was happy. Ms. Yoruichi, are you worried about me? What an honor. Get out. How long have you been, and you are still joking? Yoruichi raised his fist, and he didn't know when, but he hit Urahara Kazuki in the face. Invisible Empire. Interesting, really interesting. Yasuke laughed and clapped. Among the enemies he encountered, Urahara Kazuki was the only one who survived being hit by his own poisonous bracelet. I, Yasuke, would like to call you the strongest. A strange woman was summoned. This kind of Bankai looks like a puppy Bankai. Bambietta also became interested. She knows Kashiwamura Sajin's Bankai very well and has strong attack and defense power, but can this woman have that kind of strength? When the dog-headed Shinigami's Bankai takes damage, right? Giselle asked Bayata. Yes, little Gigi. It's easy, Yasuke, you don't need to attack Urahara Kazuki, just attack the immobile woman. Giselle felt that the woman attached to Urahara Kazuki was unable to move and felt the same way. If so, the battle will be over soon. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Yasuke disagreed with Giselle. If that was the case, then Kanenbaraki Benihime Aratame, this Bankai would be very useless. How could a wise man like Urahara Kazuki leave such garbage Bankai in a life or death situation? Return to the video screen. Oh, what is that? When Yasuke saw the appearance of the huge woman, he was very surprised and nervous. He glared at Urahara Kazuki. You just said it was Bankai. I have never heard of it. The information I received from His Majesty did not contain any information about you Bankai. Shihuin Yoruichi hasn't even seen his Bankai. How could he know Habach? I have used Bankai in front of people who are still alive. This is the first time. Urahara Kazuki's eyes are still bleeding, and his voice is a little haggard. The damage caused to him by the previous poisonous bracelet has already had an effect. Oh, I got it. Yasuke narrowed his eyes slightly and his expression became serious. He knew that things were in trouble and asked. So, let me ask first, what is your Bankai's ability? He was very confident that Urahara Kazuki would tell him. After all, I have told the other party about my abilities. However, the answer he received left Yasuke speechless. You can ask this kind of thing, but I can't possibly tell you. Urahara Kazuki replied. Look at how cautious they are, and look at you again. You have emptied out all your wealth and handed it over to the enemy. Lee Jae-Luo, who was outside the video, looked at Yasuke with a scolding look. You can't learn from Urahara Kazuki, right? What's the big deal? If you don't tell me, don't tell me. I will naturally analyze it during the battle. Yasuke pouted, spread his hands, and said with an indifferent expression. Telling the enemy about his abilities is due to Yasuke's character. He can accept it even if others don't tell him his abilities. It's nothing more than a need to use your brain to analyze and analyze. Is this the reason for your arrogance, Yasuke? Gerald also glared at Yasuke. The SS can no longer be defeated. Otherwise, Yuhabach is very likely to blame him, and then they won't be able to eat and walk around. In a fool's opinion, this is called self-confidence. Just think that I can defeat one of the special forces. Urahara Kazuki has such a high-level mind, maybe he can still serve His Majesty. Yasuke did not feel confident at all. Big. Interesting, if we really let Urahara Kazuki join us, maybe His Majesty can complete the plan better. I support you, Yasuke. Lloyd said excitedly. The video continues to play. Yasukin was rejected, but he was not angry at all, and explained, "It's natural that you don't say anything, but if you attack without asking, I always feel that you don't know what to do. No need to explain, but, even if I don't say it, you will know it right away." Urahara Kazuki smiled slightly, and the next second, Yasukin's left arm was instantly cut open. The flesh and blood tissue is exposed and can be seen very clearly. What is this? Yasukin panicked for a moment. "I don't understand what happened at all. Why was his arm cut open without the other party taking any action? It's still such a serious injury. You know, the body's endurance is also related to Reiatsu. Even if it is directly slashed with Zanpakuto, Yasukin will not be so injured." He quickly retreated and distanced himself. But at this time, the split arm was sewn back together by itself. Although Yasukin was confused, he was still calm. "You are very calm. Most people would cut their arms out of surprise." Urahara Kazuki praised Yasukin. "Ha ha ha, you are right. If it were Captain Zaraki, one of his arms would have been cut off by him, right?" Rangaku outside the video looked at Zaraki Kenpachi and said. Zaraki Kenpachi is a reckless man, which can be seen from his changes in the battle with Grami. This was shown even more clearly during the battle with Panida, when Kenpachi's arm was hit by a nerve attack, and he cut off the arm without saying a word. If he is hit by Urahara Kazuki's Bankai move, he will definitely do the same thing. Zaraki Kenpachi. What does this Urahara Kazuki mean? Did he watch my battle from a distance before? Zaraki Kenpachi was a little unhappy. Doesn't this mean that he has no brains? Also, why is this split arm not broken, but sewn up? Zaraki Kenpachi couldn't understand. Bankai's moves usually cause damage to the enemy and then heal them after damaging them. What the hell is that? You can't see Urahara Kazuki Bankai's ability yet, but it should have a similar transformation function. Kurotsuchi Mayuri's eyes shone as she analyzed it carefully. Return to the video screen. You understand correctly, my Bankai must be within a certain range in order to be effective. Urahara Kazuki now opens the Shikai release. Similar in scope to Kyoraku Shunsui Shikai and Bankai games. Haha, I don't have the guts to cut off my own arm. Yasukin gloated. He was just a coward and did not have cutting-edge wisdom. Urahara Kazuki did not underestimate Yasukin just because he gave in. Through that blow just now, you probably already understand. Kanenbaraki Benihime Aratame's ability. Suddenly, a large number of stitches appeared on Urahara Kazuki's face, and several stitch marks appeared on his face. He explained with a ferocious smile, "Remodel everything you touch." Yasukin was shocked, but Urahara Kazuki was already looking at him with Zanpakuto. But the second attack was blocked by Yasukin. What? You can still see. Yasukin was shocked. He thought Urahara Kazuki was blind. Your eyes should be dead. I can see it. Urahara Kazuki smiled slightly. I thought my eyes had also been remodeled. During the conversation, Urahara Kazuki's arm was also split, but it was quickly sewn up with needles and threads. Body transformation. Urahara Kazuki, it turns out that your Bankai has this ability. It's so boring. Kurotsuchi Mayuri outside the video instantly showed a contemptuous smile after learning about Kanenbaraki Benihime Aratame's ability. As a scientist himself, he is fully capable of reshaping the food he touches. Please give me flowers. Although most of them transform themselves or Zanpakuto, they can also achieve similar effects. Perhaps in terms of frequency, he is not as good as Urahara Kazuki's Bankai. Captain Nirvana, Kazuki's Bankai should not be limited to transformation. Kyoraku Shunsui said calmly. Kurotsuchi Mayuri disagreed. Anyway, I only found this useful point now. The video continues to play. Urahara Kazuki and Yasukin charged again, and the extremely strong Reiatsu impact sent the two men flying far away. Ah, no, I don't like this. Doesn't this turn into a competition of brute force? Yasukin frowned. I finally pulled you into my domain. I wanted to have a big fight according to my own tone, but I always missed it and couldn't do it. You are very cunning, Urahara Kazuki. But, no matter how powerful you are still not perfect after all. Yasukin showed an enigmatic smile and raised the lightning pillar in his hand. You must have forgotten, this ultimate poison ball is absolutely the poisonous fortress from which escape is impossible. You can still breathe here only because I didn't use my full strength. Urahara Kazuki smiled. You've almost got it. Are you still planning to increase the concentration of the ultimate poison ball? Even now, the limit I can stand on the ground without falling down is already the limit. If the concentration is increased further, it will really be impossible to breathe. You really know how to speak. I understand, your Bankai will be in danger as long as it doesn't fall on the ground. Yasukin noticed Kazuki's weakness. It's amazing that I understood it so quickly, but it's too late. As soon as Urahara Kazuki finished speaking, Yasukin's chest was pierced by an arm. 0. The blood-stained arms held Yasukin's heart tightly, causing Yasukin to suffocate. What? He was in a daze and at a loss. I care about what you said. It's impossible to escape from this poisonous ball, but you didn't say it's impossible to invade, so I tried it. Create a channel from the Tenchi on the periphery of the poisonous ball that can enter. Invade the road here. Thank you so much for your help. Grimjow. However, At this time, Grimmjow appeared behind Yasuke, clutching his heart tightly in his hand. This world. What? That's Grimmjow. Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes widened, unable to believe that Grimmjow would appear in the real-world city. When his arm pierced Yasuke's chest, he noticed that the claws on this arm were very sharp and familiar to him. But Ichigo didn't think about Grimmjow at first. He thought Grimmjow died in the battle with him. What a Grimmjow! Didn't you kill that guy? Kurosaki Ichigo. Renji looked at Kurosaki Ichigo. How do I know? I thought he was dead, but now it has been proven that he is not dead yet. Kurosaki Ichigo shook his head, not understanding the reason. But even if Grimmjow was not dead, why did he appear in the battle between Shinigami and the Quincy? You know, he is Aizen's subordinate, a hollow, and he is against Shinigami and the Quincy. How could it help Urahara Kazuki? Urahara store. The sixth blade, Grimmjow, is awesome. Urahara Kazuki definitely doesn't know what happened now, but there is definitely a reason why Arrancar can help him. Since they can join forces with each other, the two must have reached some kind of contract. It's unimaginable that Arrancar actually joined forces with us. Yoruichi was not as calm as Urahara Kazuki and looked very surprised. This is a good thing. Otherwise, it would be really difficult for me to deal with Yasuke. Saraiti. What's going on? Urahara Kazuki colluded with Arrancar. It's really a crime worthy of death. Kurotsuchi Mayuri grinned and directly punished Urahara Kazuki. Captain Nirvana. You are going a little too far. What do you mean by Kazuki colluding with Arrancar? At that time, Aizen's power had long ceased to exist. Maybe it was Kazuki Linge. Limjo has changed his ways. Tōshirō does not agree with Kurotsuchi Mayuri. No matter where Grimmjow stood, the result was that he helped Urahara Kazuki against the Quincy of the Knights of the Star Cross. No matter what happened before, at least now, he is a companion. Shout, are you right? Kurotsuchi Mayuri knew that she was unreasonable, so she didn't say any more. Instead, she became very interested in Urahara Kazuki's Bankai ability. Kanenbaraki Benihime Aratame, can you still transform inorganic substances? Originally, he thought that Bankai could only transform living bodies, but it turned out that it could even transform the buildings in the real-world city. If you look at it this way, its ability is also very powerful. It can only be described as awesome, not that incomprehensible. It's Urahara Kazuki who caught him off guard by creating foreign aid. Jashiro smiled slightly, but looking at Kazuki's Bankai, it doesn't seem to have very strong fighting ability, but combined with his mind, this is a very powerful killing move. Rukia nodded in agreement. Let Grimmjow help, this must be the trick of the Urahara store manager. Chapter 175, Lethal Death, the Ultimate Poison Ball. Zai Palace. Grimmjow, you traitor, you went to help Shinigami. Neutra immediately pointed the finger at Grimmjow. You want to know who killed all the members of their Espada? It's all Shinigami. As a result, Grimmjow actually helped Shinigami deal with the Quincy, which is really hopeless. Neutra, do I still need you to teach me how to do things? Grimmjow's eyes flashed with a trace of cruelty. It is absolutely impossible for me to simply help Shinigami. I can't think of any reason to help them without benefit. Grimmjow is also a very self-centered person. He doesn't care who the other person is. As long as it is good for him, it is not a bad thing to help the other person. Moreover, if it weren't for Aizen's crushing strength, he would have gone it alone. It's really unreasonable. Master Aizen will never let you go. Zamari glared at Grimmjow fiercely. Grimmjow's approach appears to have caused outrage. What Grimmjow does is his own business, we have nothing to do with it. Harabel is on the same side as Grimmjow. Anyway, at that time, Aizen had been sealed, and Hueco Mundo was no longer the Hueco Mundo it is now. Aizen won't let me go. Grimmjow smiled at Harabel, then turned to look at Zamari. Didn't Aizen help Soul Society? Even if he didn't help, if the Soul King is destroyed and Yuhabach recreates the world, you all have to die. After all, Aizen should thank me. You. Zamari looked at Grimmjow's arrogant attitude and immediately clenched his fists, but what the other person said made sense, and he hated the feeling of not being able to grasp the handle, which made him very uncomfortable. Invisible Empire. Damn guy, it's a sneak attack again. Yasuke's brows were tightly knitted together, and his face was very ugly. I originally wanted to be in my poison domain with Urahara Kazuki and make him suffer a lot. Although Urahara Kazuki's Bankai transformed his eyes, Urahara Kazuki couldn't do anything in his own poison ball. It turns out that guy can also transform inorganic matter, allowing Grimmjow outside the poison ball to come in and launch an attack. What a despicable villain. What a despicable villain. Yasuke roared angrily. He is indeed the king of means. Who would have thought that he still has this skill? Gerald frowned and shook his head. Although the last guard also tasted defeat, he had to accept this killing move. No matter how high his IQ is, it's unimaginable that Urahara Kazuki would resort to outside help, right? Therefore, Yasuke's failure was not due to his lack of strength, but to Urahara Kazuki's strategy being too successful. Return to the video screen. Grimmjow crushed Yasuke's heart, causing him to fall to the ground. It's It's you. Yaskin fell to the ground, squinting at Grimmjow, but his voice was a little trembling. It's amazing that you can still move, I underestimated you. What are you doing? Your heart has been crushed and you're not dead yet. Grimmjow looked at Yaskin on the ground with contempt, feeling a little surprised. If it were placed on an ordinary person, he would probably die the moment his heart is touched, right? Yaskin's vitality is quite tenacious. At this time, Urahara Kazuki stood up. I cured him. On the way here, I kept thinking about the Arankars who peeled off Arankar by Aizen's hands, and with the help of the return blade, the virtual Reiatsu was completely transformed into Arankar's Reiatsu. This kind of thing might come in handy in battle. Yaskin's heart trembled as he listened to Urahara Kazuki's explanation, secretly thinking that his opponent was too scary, and then he said, have you even considered this? No. Urahara Kazuki looked grave. Didn't I say it, but it might come in handy, so I made preparations and made 1,000 preparations. Even if only one of them can be used, it's still good. As long as there is a 1 in 1,000 chance, you must be fully prepared. This is my style. Seraiti. As Urahara Kazuki so cautious? He has 1,000 preparations. In other words, he has 1,000 means. Omaeda stared in surprise, feeling incredible. Are you a pig brain? Sui Feng glanced at Omaeda. Urahara Kazuki is just a metaphor. Even if he has many methods, he cannot have 1,000 methods. But even if there is not 1,000, there are still 100. Tōshirō took over Sui Feng's words. Urahara Kazuki has calculated all the things that may happen, right? According to his IQ, this is indeed a possibility. Jashiro agreed. Return to the video screen. Seeing this serious-looking Urahara Kazuki, Yaskin broke into cold sweat. On the one hand, he was shocked by Urahara Kazuki, and on the other hand, his body could no longer bear it after his heart was crushed. What a mess. He sighed. What you mean? Urahara Kazuki was a little puzzled. This is a battle. If you lose, you will face death. In order to avoid death, you must be prepared to die. Is this what everyone does? I see. I seem to understand your terrible reason. Yaskin finally understood why Yuhabach was afraid of Urahara Kazuki. At this time, Grimmjow once again dug into his heart, a little impatiently. The difficult guy should die quickly. Just as Grimmjow was about to kill him, Urahara Kazuki stopped him. Grimmjow, killing your enemy is the contract between me and you, so the contract ends. Urahara Kazuki said. Hearing this, Grimmjow looked at Kazuki and was about to speak when his body began to lose control. Not just him, but Urahara Kazuki too. What's going on? Grimmjow was a little frightened. Oh, there's something I forgot to tell you. Suddenly, Yaskin's voice came over again. Is this guy not dead yet? Grimmjow was completely confused. What kind of 4.9 vitality does he have? Yaskin continued. Once I die, the power of the upper planet will greatly increase. I was afraid that I would be involved, so it was sealed by Vice Admiral unconsciously, but now the seal is opened. He glanced at Urahara Kazuki. Although I have never expressed respect to you, you are really admirable. He made a triangle shape with his hands. You don't have the strength to escape, right? I'm sorry. Yaskin showed a proud smile, but having said that, you must have a way to deal with it, right? Urahara Kazuki lowered his head and said nothing. But Yaskin understood. Really, because I was very angry, I stopped saying fatal words. For a moment, Yaskin showed no sign of life. However, at this time, the poisonous mist in the poison ball dispersed like smoke.